A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
Pepper Young's Family. Pepper Young's Family is the true-to-life story of your friends, the Youngs. We'll be with them in just a moment after this message. Well, it's dinner time in the Young household, but it looks as if there weren't going to be many faces around the festive board tonight. Pepper and Biff haven't as yet shown up, and Peggy, of course, is away in Chicago. Probably she's getting ready for quite a different kind of dinner than the simple one the Youngs have prepared tonight. Mr. Young is home, though, and he's aware that it's time to eat, whether the rest of his family is ready or not.
Oh, Mary.
Yes, darling. Here I am in the living room.
Dinner ready yet?
Well, it will be in a minute, Sam. Why?
Well, I ought to see a man tonight, Mary. I've got a lead on something that may turn out to be pretty good.
A job, Sam?
Well, I don't know yet, dear. It's too soon to say. It's just somebody I heard about who wants a fellow in the prime of life, like myself, and it may be something that I can do. Well, I'm going to see him right after dinner.
Oh, Sam, I hope so. What sort of a job is it?
Well, I don't exactly know yet. But it may mean that I have to do a great deal of traveling around.
Oh, well, now, I'd hate that. I hate having you away from home.
I know, honey, but beggars can't be choosers, and I'm darn lucky to hear of anybody who wants anybody over 21. Apparently, this is a day when everybody wants young men, but, well, of course, there's always a chance for us old boys.
Now, don't call yourself an old boy. The idea.
Well, I won't, but that's what I guess I am, honey. Well, if dinner's ready, I'd like to sit down and have it right now.
Oh, well, you see, I'm waiting for Pepper and Biff.
Oh, seems to me we're always waiting for Biff.
I know it. He has no idea of time whatever.
No. Well, I guess Peggy's in Chicago by this time.
Mm-hmm. Of course, she was supposed to wire us when she got there, but I guess she forgot all about it in the excitement.
I figured she would. But I'm not sure she... Oh, I'm sure she got there all right.
Oh, bless her heart. She must be so happy being with Carter again.
I wonder how the Trent family are taking it.
Well, I guess they have to take it and like it.
Well, as long as she had a good time.
Of course she will. She'll have a wonderful time. It'll be a great experience for her, I'm sure.
It'll be an experience, all right, but how great it'll be, I don't know. Oh, I'm a little dubious about the whole thing. I've been there. I've seen the Trent layout. It takes a good deal to overawe me, but believe me, I was overawed.
Not too overawed.
Oh, what do you mean?
Or not so overawed that you couldn't knock Mr. Trent down.
Oh, now, Mary, do I have to hear about that for the rest of my life?
I'm afraid so. But see, I'm rather proud of it.
Oh, well, you're certainly proud of the darndest things. Well, does it take a sock in the jaw to make you proud?
Oh, Sam.
We'll be back with the Youngs in a moment after this message.
Hi, everybody. Say, I've got a date tonight, so is it all right if I get dinner out of the way quick like?
Well, your father has a date tonight, too, and he wants to have dinner early, so I guess we'll go in. Biff isn't here, so I'll just keep something hot for him, I guess.
Say, what is all this about Biff? What's the trouble?
Well, I think he's in love.
Again. Oh, do tell. Gee, I'm glad I'm not. You know, it makes an awful lot of difference when you can think about other things and concentrate on life in general.
I've just been telling your mother that Peggy must be in Chicago by now.
I thought she was supposed to send a wire the minute she got there.
She was, but she probably forgot it. After all, it must have been pretty exciting for her, the arrival and all the rest.
Yeah, and Carter standing in the station with open arms. Boy, I bet she has herself a time.
Yeah. As I was telling your mother, I don't know how much of a time she'll have. The whole Trent establishment's so impressive and so overpowering that I'm afraid Peg's she'll feel lost in the shuffle.
Oh, leave it to her. She'll be okay. Besides, they've got to be decent to her when she's visiting them.
Yes, I suppose they do.
I'm going back to the flying field. Andy and I've got some work to do.
Gee, is everybody at dinner? Am I late again?
Yep, late as usual.
See, Mrs. Young, I got somebody here with me.
Oh, you brought somebody for dinner, Biff?
Well, you remember I told you about a girl named Gloria?
Oh, yes, Biff, of course I remember.
Well, now, don't tell me you brought a girlfriend when we've got hash for dinner.
Oh, I don't think she'd come to dinner, Mr. Young. Only her family were out, and I sort of brought her around, and she can sit on the porch till we finish dinner.
Oh, of course she can't sit on the porch. Bring her in. What a very idea.
Say, Biff, is this the local heartbeat?
Keep it under your hat, will you? Boy, is she something.
Oh, yeah? Well, I guess I'd better look her over.
Say, this is a one-way street, remember, and it's going my way.
Well, I'll pull up another chair, and she can come in and look over the hash.
I'm awfully sorry, Mrs. Young, if it puts you out or anything.
Well, of course it doesn't, Biff. Just means setting another plate.
Oh, but she doesn't want anything to eat. She doesn't want anything at all. She said to tell you that she'd just sit outside and wait till I got through, and we could, go to the movies or something.
Of course she's going to have dinner with us. Pepper, go get her.
Okay. Oh, no, you stay where you are. I'll get her. Hey, beautiful.
Yes, Biff?
Mrs. Young says to come on in and join the family party.
Oh, I don't think I better do that.
Oh, you sure had. My name's Pepper Young. This is my mother and father.
How do you do?
And this is our chicken hash. Come on in and make yourself at home.
Well, I don't know. I'm really not a bit hungry, Mrs. Young. Really, I'm
Oh,
not.
nonsense. We'd love to have you. We're sorry we haven't anything better to offer you than hash.
Oh, I like chicken hash very much. It looks perfectly delicious.
Besides, we've been wanting to meet you after hearing Biff's account of you.
You mean he's been talking about me?
Have I? I just got through saying you were an answer to a prayer.
Sit down here, won't you, beside Biff?
Yeah, that place is swell, right across from me.
Oh, thank you. Are you sure I'm not putting you to any trouble, Mrs. Young?
Oh, no. You can drop in any time you feel like it. It's all right with us. Do you live in Elmwood?
Yes, I do. Oh, we've only been here a short time, but we just love it. It's the most hospitable town.
Yes, it's pretty hospitable, especially to blondes.
You'll have to excuse my son's direct method, Miss...
Oh, won't you please call me Glory?
Well, yes, I'd like to, Glory. But, I repeat, please excuse my son. He believes in the direct method. It leaves something to be desired in the way of subtlety, but, after all, you do get the idea that gentlemen prefer blondes.
I thought you had a sister. I thought Peggy
Yes,
Young
but she's in Chicago.
Oh, I've heard so much about her. I've been reading all about her in the paper. She's engaged to marry Carter Trent, isn't she?
Well, that's right, she is. More or less.
Will you have some vegetables, Glory?
Oh, no, thank you. No vegetables.
What's the matter? Are you on a diet?
Well, I do have to think about it.
You don't look as if you had to think about anything.
She has to think about me. How about it, Glory?
Well...
Are you kids going to the movies tonight?
Oh, I don't know. Are we, Biff?
Well, I was thinking of taking them in.
Mind if I go along, too?
Oh, no, we'd love to have you. Wouldn't we, Biff?
Would not. And I mind plenty.
Well, you can't keep me out of the movies. I'm going anyhow, and if I happen to sit next to you...
Pepper, I thought you and Andy Hart had some work to do at the flying field.
Oh, well, Glory said she'd like me to postpone it till tomorrow night, didn't you?
Why, yes. I think it would be awfully nice.
Well, then that's all settled. We'll all go to the movies.
Nothing doing, Pepper. I told you this was a one-way street.
I heard you, but I'm going the same way.
Tell me, Miss
Easton, Mrs. Young. Glory Easton.
Is your family here in Elmwood with you?
Well, yes, I'm here with my mother and father. We've just taken a house on Beacon Street.
Hey, that's not too far away. Are you going to the high school here?
Yes, I am. I have one more year.
Oh, well, then you'll be in Peggy's class.
Oh, yes. Oh, it must be wonderful for her to be engaged to somebody like Carter Trent.
It's wonderful for us to have her in Chicago. We've been hearing too much about Carter. We're kind of fed up on it.
Well, look, won't you eat anything else? You've hardly touched a body.
Oh, no, thank you.
All right, well, how about some dessert?
Oh, no, thank you. I never eat dessert.
Gee, it wouldn't cost a man practically anything to keep you in victuals. And, you know, that's something to consider in these days of rising prices, especially of food.
Oh, Pepper, have a heart.
I have. That's the trouble. Mother, I don't want any dessert either. Suppose you and I go outside and look over the landscape, Glory.
I don't want any dessert either, if you don't mind, Mrs. Young. You'll be excused.
Why, Biff, I never knew you to go without dessert.
Yeah, well, this is a special case.
Excuse us, please. Come on, let's all scramble outside. You know, it's a swell night with a moon and everything. I ordered it especially for you, Glory.
Poor Biff. With Pepper horning in.
Oh, he's got a lot of crust, all right.
Oh, dear.
What's the matter, Mary?
Sam, I hope Peggy's having a good time. Keep worrying about her.
So do I. And I also wish, instead of being seriously involved with someone, she was like this girl, having a good time with all the boys.
Yeah.
I'd feel much better if she were here in Elmwood, going out to the movies instead of way off there in Winnetka in that palace of the Trents.
She doesn't belong there, does she?
She certainly doesn't, and she'll find that out in no time and be back here before you know it.
Perhaps Mr. Young is right. Perhaps Peggy is already beginning to find how difficult it would be to fit into Carter's world. Now, a message from our sponsor. Tomorrow, Peggy has dinner in state and accepts an invitation to the country club dance with misgivings. Be sure to join us on Pepper Young's Family. John Scott speaking.
Tonight, someone will croak. Wait till you see how on People Are Funny. And now, here is radio's top master of ceremonies, Art Linkletter. Hello there. Oh, boy, are people funny. Even animals are funny. Did you hear about the farmer up in Salt Lake City? His house caught on fire. He has a watchdog. So faithful, he kept the fireman away till the whole house had been burned down. It really happened. May happen yet tonight, huh, Rod? Right. Who's first on the show tonight, Mr. O'Connor?
Mr. William Scherer from Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. Linkletter.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Art.
Do you believe the old saying, the old wives' tale, I guess you might call it, that you get warts on your hands if you handle frogs?
No.
You don't believe it? No. Well, we'll find out. What do you care if your fingers look like old pickles? I guess, Bill, that you are single.
I am.
And what business are you in?
I'm in the Naval Reserve waiting for my orders
Well,
to go into the Army.
Your period of waiting is over. You're ready to go into action tonight. Mr. Scheer, for the next 30 minutes, at any rate, you are a hunter. Boys, get the hunter's cap, put it on him, give him the big net, bring out the spear, bring out the hip boots. Have you got any idea what you've been hunting?
I have no idea.
Uh-huh. Give him the hunter's call, will you? Blow that. Don't you recognize that? That's the call of a frog for his mate. Yes, Mr. Scheer, tonight you have been a frog hunter, let us say. Your bag of game, where is it, fellas? Bring out the gunny sack with a lot of big, beautiful, dead frogs inside of that. I'll tell you what you're going to do, Mr. Scheer, what every hunter does when he comes home with extra game. He's going to share it with his neighbors. You don't live around here, do you?
No, I don't.
We don't care. We'll find a neighborhood, and you're going to send you out with all this gear and equipment. You'll put the hip boots on out in the hall so you look like you've just come out of the swamps. We'll take off this blue suit coat, and then you just go up to any front door you want. You pick it out in the house while you're driving along in the neighborhood. Knock on the door. When somebody answers, what do you say?
Want a frog?
That does seem a little inadequate, doesn't it? No, I tell you, figure up some cute little story like you can say, I'm new in this neighborhood, and I know you'd like to have a couple of lovely, edible frogs I just caught.
How old are they?
The frogs? They're brand new caught.
Oh.
We killed them up in the vice president's office right here at NBC this afternoon. And then, of course, after you say your story, you reach in and pull out a frog and hand it to them.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be kind of fun to give away a lot of dead frogs, won't it?
Yes.
Uh-huh. You think? Well, I tell you, just for the fun of it, we're going to make it more lively. Boys, bring out the sack of live frogs. Now, Now, those are the live ones in there, and they're really live frogs, believe me. We went to a lot of trouble to get them. See them jump in there? Now, you give people their choice, either a live frog or a dead frog, but you must give them away. Talk the people into it. Say frog legs are wonderful. They're edible. They taste a little like chicken, you know. And now, give them away even though they haven't been cleaned. I mean the frogs, not the people. You pick out anybody you want. Now, go to as many houses as you can, and if you manage to give all your frogs away, we'll give you $100 worth of our fine prizes. Now, Mr. Atkins will drive you to a nearby neighborhood, get you back on time, and by the way, if they ask you where you got the frogs, you got any idea where you go frog hunting around here?
No.
Well, say the La Brea Tar Pits. They get everything out of there. Whatever you say, you can't mention people are funny. Tell them you've been frog hunting someplace. You got the frog call? Give a blow. On your way. Say goodbye to them, audience. There goes old Hop-Along Shear. Remember, if he doesn't get rid of the frogs, he doesn't get the $100 worth of prizes. But now get this. If he does get rid of all the frogs, wait till you hear what happens then. He'll be in even worse trouble. Well, anyway, I hope he wins something. $100 worth of those big premiums over there, for instance.
A wonderful $21 combination electric grill and waffle iron. Handsome man's sports shirt and your choice of smart colors. A new streamlined electric iron with temperature control and dozens of other things. Every one the best of its kind, top quality, nationally advertised. Art, our next contestant is Miss Margaret Roth from Los Angeles.
Well, Miss Roth, do you enjoy new experiences?
Oh, sure. Lots of fun.
Well, you're going to have one tonight. What do you do for a living, Margaret?
I'm a home economist, so I help demonstrate things, too.
Well, you're going to demonstrate something tonight. You're a pretty good talker, aren't you, Margaret?
Well,
you have to be in your line.
Make a stab at it.
As a home economist, you know that almost every woman listening in has at some time or another, including yourself, borrowed from friends and neighbors.
Oh, sure.
Well, what have you ever borrowed?
Oh, clothes, various articles of wearing apparel, food.
When you're short of something.
Yes, whatever you want to borrow.
Now, before we went on the air, you recall Mr. Goodell here asked you for the phone numbers of some of your married friends who live around Los Angeles?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Well, we checked, didn't we, John?
Right.
To see if those friends were at home. And the second number you gave us answered. We just said, oh, sorry, wrong number, and hung up. So we know they're there. Now, we want you to go into that phone booth and call this woman who is a friend of yours and who is home and try to borrow something. Do you think you can do it?
Well, it depends. Maybe on what she's got. What will I have to borrow?
Oh, that's very easy. Whatever it is, she has it, I can assure you. Just tell me this one thing. Will you try?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'll give you a $100 prize if you succeed. And it's a very little thing we want you to try to borrow. Her husband. Some lady down there figured it out, didn't you? I heard a lady say, oh, that's a husband. You want to get rid of yours? I'll tell you, you think you could do it, Margaret?
Well, I'll sure try.
All right, now look, we'll make it easy on you. We'll give you 3 minutes to do it. And we'll give you a good story to tell her we've invented. And if she's a good friend, she may lend you her husband. Now, you tell her that a friend of yours from back east came in suddenly, invited you out to Ciro's for an evening. Your regular boyfriend has a bad cold, and you want to know if she'll loan you her husband, see? You need an escort. What do you think she'll say?
Well, gee, I don't know. Hard to say.
You know her pretty well?
Oh, yes.
All right. Now, some women will do anything to get rid of their husbands. Maybe this woman will jump at the opportunity. Now, we have a phone booth over there, so your friend can't hear the reactions of our audience. And the lady's name is Mrs. Zam, isn't it? Z-A-M. Is it Alakazam?
No.
What's her name?
Her name is Martha.
Martha Zam. All right, Mr. Goodell, go into the phone booth and start dialing the number. And Miss Roth, as soon as Mr. Goodell gets your number, you go into the booth. We give you 3 minutes. We'll close the door on you, but we have a microphone hooked on the line so everybody can hear the whole conversation. He should be having the number. All right, go on over there quickly now. Into the booth, take the call, and remember you have 3 minutes to get it underway.
Hello, is this Martha?
Yes.
Well, how are you?
Hi, who's this?
This is Margaret.
Margaret Roth.
That's right.
Well, fine.
Well, how's everything over there?
Everything is just fine. What can I do you for?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm in a low spot, and I've been invited over to Ciro's, tonight.
Yeah?
And my boyfriend won't be able to make it, and I was just wondering if I could borrow your husband for the evening. It won't cost you anything, And, our friends will pick us up, and he won't have to take the car or drive or anything.
My husband?
Uh-huh.
Well, gee whiz, that's impossible, darling, because he has an engagement.
Well, listen, I'd invite you to come along, too, but you know how it is. They would have a one-man short, and it would be a lot of fun.
Oh,
and I'll
could I time for somebody else? Because he has an engagement, Margaret.
Yeah, but I'll have him back before midnight.
Yeah, but it's impossible, dear. She has an engagement.
Well, after all, you really won't mind, and I won't be alone with him at any time, and I'll talk about you most of the time, real nice things about it and everything, and I'd help you get that new iron you want for bed, and then I could tell him how fortunate he was having such a good manager, and how you do everything over in the yard, and, take care of things and make the house look so nice and everything like you do.
Are you sure you're just going to talk about the house and everything like that?
Oh, no. I'll tell him how nice you look when you get all fixed up and go out and everything, and what a good manager you are, and just push your stock
you're
up.
not going to be alone with him? You mean there's going to be a big group there?
What is it? I didn't hear you.
Is there going to be quite a large group?
Oh, about 6 or so.
And, well, I'll tell you, he has this musical engagement, but,
Oh, he
and
can
as
go.
a matter of fact, I think I can get him to go if you're sure there's a group.
Oh, that'd be swell. Now, if you say he can go, he'll go, won't he?
Well, if I say that he's going to go, he'll go. Sure you'll have it back by midnight?
Oh, yes, we'll be back by midnight. And listen, I'll bring you some match covers, because I know how you like them for your collection.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Oh, okay, swell. We'll pick you up in about an hour or so.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Bye.
She did it 2 minutes and 23 seconds. 2 minutes and 23 seconds. She had 3 minutes. She's did it by 37 seconds. Come on out, Miss Ross. You know the biggest laugh I got out of the whole thing? She says, if I say he goes, he goes. You have won the $100 prize. And, of course, we'll phone her right after the show and invite her and her husband to go along on the party. And before you go to Ciro's, don't forget to pick out $100 worth of those fine prizes over there. Many-purpose combination electric grill or a deluxe inlaid bridge table or anything you want. Goodbye and thanks from People Are Funny. Now, Rod, who's next?
Mr. Clyde Brennan from Los Angeles. Meet Art Linkletter.
And here he comes, dressed in an old-fashioned bathing suit. Hello, Mr. Brennan.
How do you do, sir?
Mr. Brennan, that's a gorgeous thing. You look a little like a cucumber. Do you know why we dressed you in the gay 90 bathing suit?
No, I don't. Afraid not.
Well, of course, it could be that you're going bathing, Mr. Brennan. Now, we picked you out of several volunteers who were bus drivers. Who do you drive a bus for?
Los Angeles Transit Line.
How long you been driving a bus?
About 12 years.
Who gives you the most trouble, men or women?
Well, women, I believe.
Is it because of they can't get the change out of their purse, or they don't know where they're going, or they're late in getting on, or what?
That's right.
Which? Did I hit it on every note?
You hit every note.
You were happy about being a bus driver?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. You happy about being on the show?
I don't know.
You'll find out. Now, most people, do you think, feel that bus drivers are pretty good guys?
Well, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Want to bet?
Bet what?
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, Clyde. This is an interesting experiment. I will pick 5 people at random, and if 3 of them have only good things to say about bus drivers, you get $100 worth of fine prizes. But if 3 of them have bad things to say, Mr. Brannon, what do you see being unveiled in the center of the stage?
It's like a tank of water.
That is a tank of water, but not just ordinary water, Mr. Brannon. That is ice water. Oh. And above it, you will notice a little seat. And the thing that supports the seat has a hinge in the middle of it. Just help him right up into the seat, because when he sits there and the... It's perfectly all right. You just sit right on the seat. He's a nice big fellow, too. Now take the plank out from underneath. Now, nothing is between Mr. Brannon and the ice water except a little support which might give way if somebody pulls a rope. If we hear 3 bad things about bus drivers, Mr. Brannon, out of 5, down you go. And you seem a little bit skeptical. I'll bet I know what you're thinking. I'll bet you're thinking that the people here in the audience, knowing where you are up there, will think up bad things to say, huh?
Well, you pick on the elderly woman, will you, please?
Tell you what I'll do, Mr. Brannon. I'll do better than that. These people here are prejudiced. They'd feel one way or another because they're either sorry for you or they want to see you get into the water. So I'm going to leave the studio and go out onto Sunset Boulevard, where we have a microphone on a long line out there, and people walking by don't have any idea what's going on in here. I'm going to pick 5 passers-by at random out on Sunset, and if 3 out of the 5 say bad things, okay?
Well, there goes Art on his way to the street. You people here will be able to hear what goes on out there, but they won't be able to hear you. And remember now, if them think bus drivers are all wet, one bus driver we know will be all wet. Art will be there any second. Now, let's see what happens.
Here we are out on Sunset Boulevard, ladies and gentlemen. And our first guest coming up to the microphone now, here's a lady. Your name is?
Mrs. Lena Ratchet.
Do you ride in buses?
I sure do.
We're taking a poll on what people think of bus drivers. What is your opinion of bus drivers in general?
Well, they don't call out the streets loud enough. Then you go out of your way, maybe 2-3 blocks, and you have to go back. You tell them about it, and they say, well, madam, I couldn't help it.
That's a rather poor opinion of bus drivers.
That's right. They should talk a little louder or have them install speakers in their buses so that people wouldn't drive past their destination.
Thank you very much. Well, that is bad. Your name, sir?
Harry V. Thompson.
We're having a little poll out here on the street trying to discover what people think of bus drivers. In general, what is your opinion?
They pull away from transfer points entirely too fast. You can't make connections.
In other words, even if they see you running up, they may not wait for you.
You think they were going to the races?
Well, I'd say that's 2 bad opinions. Thank you very much. Could we get your name, please?
My name is Dick Walsh.
Uh-huh. What is your opinion of bus drivers?
Say, we on the radio?
Yeah, this is Coast to Coast Radio.
I ain't got nothing to say. Nothing.
All right, now, wait a minute. If you don't want to express opinion, that's all right. Here's our next guest, another man, wearing a light top coat. Your name, sir?
Harry Martin.
Uh-huh. You ride in the buses?
Oh, every day. The Western Melrose bus down to downtown Los Angeles.
Uh-huh. Well, now, what do you think about bus drivers?
Well, I think they do a terrific job. I think they must have the brains of an Einstein to remember all the stops and all sort of things. Some of these old dodgers that get on and start fumbling about for their monies and change. They can't get hold of the stuff, and the people waiting behind to try and get on. And these bus drivers keep their temper like angels. I think they're terrific.
Well, that's fine. You like bus drivers. That's 2 bad and 1 good so far. Here's a lady, Mrs.
Thelma Hanson.
What is your opinion of bus drivers?
Well, I think they're very nice and always very polite. I've been on it for 10 years. All the time, it's very nice and very polite.
All right, thank you very much. That's 2 good and 2 bad. Let me get this lady with the little cherries up on her hat. This one is quite important. You are Mrs.
C.A. Moore.
You ride the buses?
Yes, I live in the Valley in Encino, and I ride in every day, and I think they're very nice. There's one old man on our line that gets a little crabby late at night, but I think it's because he's so old. Otherwise, they're very nice to me.
Well, now, you've qualified your statement. I want you to give me a straight answer. Yes or no, do you think bus drivers in general are okay?
Yes, I do. I think they're very nice.
Well, thank you very much. What you have just said is going to make a certain bus driver very happy. Thank you. You ask anybody who listens to People Are Funny, and you'll know why.
Well, Mr. Brannon, you won your bet. Help him down from his perch, fellas. And after the program, he gets to choose $100 worth of prizes. Handsome wristwatch, fine tailored sports jacket, anything he wants. There's Art.
What do you know? He did it. Mr. Brannon. Were you a little nervous?
Yes, Art. Very much so.
That last lady looked so cross, too, when I walked up to her. You get $100 worth of prizes, and all I can say is that don't feel too bad about any of the criticisms, because people are funny, and when you deal with the public, you've got to meet a few people who are sore at anybody. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Thanks from People Are Funny for coming on down. Shucks, we got those tank and everything and that ice cold water going to waste. Anybody like to jump in? Who's next, Rod?
Mrs. Frances Anderson from Los Angeles. Meet Art Linkletter.
Hello, Mrs. Anderson.
Hello, Mr. Linkletter.
You look like the kind of a lady who never gets into trouble.
No, I don't.
But there is always a first time.
There is?
This may be it. What do you do, Frances?
I'm a housewife.
And Mr. Anderson is a...
He's an electrical engineer.
And you have any little...
Yes, I do. Not so little. 2 boys, quite big.
Good for you. You look as if they'd be very young.
No, one's over 6 feet.
Really? You must have some magic mud pack or something. Mrs. Anderson, what were you asked to do when you were first chosen from out of our studio audience to be on the show tonight?
I was given 5 envelopes and told to write my name and address on each one.
Now, for doing that simple little stunt, you get $100 in cash.
Ooh-wee.
Wasn't that easy money?
Lovely. The easiest I've ever made.
Now, there's just one little catch. As soon as you wrote your name and address on those 5 envelopes, we changed your prize money, that $100, into $20 bills, and we put one into each of those envelopes. Would you like to know where they are now?
I certainly would.
So would I. Because right after you addressed them and the $20 bills were put inside, they were taken out and dropped on sidewalks around town. Now, those envelopes are all stamped and addressed to you because you addressed them yourself.
Yes, I did.
But they are not sealed. So to get your $100 prize money, Mrs. Anderson, all you have to do is to wait until people pick them up and mail them to you.
You mean I'm really trusting the public?
You have
How
to.
do I know they'll do that?
That's what we want to find out. Are people honest with other people's money? Very clever of me to use your money for this experiment, isn't it?
Very clever.
Now, don't worry. We've made it easy for you. We did not seal the envelopes, and inside each envelope, along with the $20 bill, is a letter. Here's a copy of it. Would you read it? It says,
Dear Francis, understand you're short of dough lately, so here's the $20 I owe you. Regards, George.
And the question is, will people who find these envelopes and read that note and look at the $20 bill mail them to you or not? And we'll find out, because now we want you to go home and wait for the mailman. And next week, come back and we'll get a report on whether or not people are honest. Okay, Francis?
I certainly will.
See you next week.
Art, our frog hunter is back.
Oh, the man with a sack of frogs, dead and alive? Well, let's get him back in and see if he got rid of them and gets the big prize. Send in the frog hunter. Look at him. He's really got the hip boots on. He's got the net and the frog stick and spear and the hat. Now, Mr. Scherer, at how many homes did you try to give away your frogs?
Well, we stopped. I went in about 10 or 12 different places, and...
mostly men or women answered the door?
Well, there's a bunch of women playing bridge or doing something at the table, and I rang the doorbell, and the door was open a little bit, and nobody answered, so I knocked on the door, and this lady came to the door and opened it up, and I said, could I give you a frog? And she looked at me like I was nuts.
Yeah?
And I said, I got some frogs here. I've been out here at the tar pits frog hunting. I've got a bunch of frogs. She said, well, what am I going to do with a frog? So I said, I don't know, and I handed it to her. It was one of the live ones. She just stood there and looked at me. So
did she take it?
She took it, and there was some kids standing there, and this little girl was coming down the steps, and I run over to the house next door, and I run over to her, and I said, hi, and she said, hi, and I handed her a frog, and it jumped out of her hand, and
probably this other woman is using it right now for a bridge prize. They use anything for a bridge prize. And this little girl, was she scared of the frog?
No, she wasn't scared. She took it in her hand, and it jumped off, and the 2 dogs and a cat took out running after it. And I was running after the dogs and the cat trying to catch the frog.
Sounds like a very interesting evening for a boy with nothing to do. Did you give away more live or more dead frogs more easily?
I gave away the dead frogs easier.
They didn't want the live ones.
They said they could cook the live ones, but the dead ones, but the live ones they couldn't do anything with. So they
might wait for old age to finally die, you know.
Well, it kind of messed me up. I went in the sack to get the live frogs, and they were little bitty ones. And I reached in the sack and get the dead ones, and they were about that long.
About a foot long?
Yeah.
Did you give more than one away at a house?
No. Well, yes, I did. This one woman on the porch, I gave her one, and there was 2 of them standing there talking. I ran up and I asked her if she would like to have some frogs, and she slammed the door and hollered, no, get away from here.
Yeah. And, scared of frogs?
Yeah, and so this other lady...
Must be a Democrat.
This other lady was coming off the porch. I asked her, and she said, my son likes frogs. So I said, well, here you are. Here's one. And I threw one in her hand. Wrapped it up in paper for her. She wouldn't touch it.
Yeah. Well, I notice you're getting warts all over you here.
I got it all over me, whatever it is.
Don't get any on me. Now, here is that big question. Did you say you gave them all away?
I gave all I had with me away.
Well, that's wonderful. The Navy needs a man like you. As a matter of fact, that means you win your prize. $100 worth of those premiums over there, a complete fishing outfit, a big electric lantern for frog hunting, anything you want.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
presents your Radio Hall of Fame. Today and every Sunday at this time, Philco Corporation brings you your Radio Hall of Fame, which honors outstanding personalities of the entertainment world made famous by your recognition of their achievements. Presiding is the Dean of Modern American Music, Paul Whiteman, with the Radio Hall of Fame Orchestra and Chorus, and our lovely singing star, Martha Tilton. To take up his happy Sunday chore, here is your genial host, Paul Whiteman.
Thank you, Glenn Riggs, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In all of radio's bright history, no name shines with greater luster than that of our star today. As commentator, singer, forceful personality, and discoverer of stars, she has no equal on the air. And because of these great achievements, the Radio Hall of Fame is deeply honored to present the First Lady of Radio, Kate Smith.
And kiss me twice, kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. I haven't felt like this, my dear, since can't remember when. It's been a long, long time. You'll never know how many dreams I dreamed about you, or just how empty they all seemed without you. So kiss me once and kiss me twice and kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. how empty they all seemed without you. So kiss me once and kiss me twice, then kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time.
Ladies and gentlemen of our audience, today's the day. Today, Philco Corporation, world's largest manufacturer of radio, announces the great new radio developments from the Philco laboratories. Every model a triumph of electronic research, 10 years ahead of 4 years ago. Now, first and top of the Philco line, Philco presents the greatest radio phonographs the radio industry has ever known, custom built by Philco, featuring a new dynamic reproducer giving professional studio reproduction of records in your home, a new record changer, exclusive new FM, high fidelity, greater power, beautiful period cabinet. Philco presents Advanced FM, a fundamentally new FM circuit developed by Philco that actually ignores noise, revolutionizes all former ideas of FM reception. Philco presents the sensational new Philco radio phonograph with automatic record player. Just put a record in the slot and it plays. Makes manual operation obsolete. Philco presents a great new line of radio consoles, table models, including FM and radio phonograph, and the most powerful, greatest performing portable radio ever built. Yes, with these sensational new developments, Philco returns to its unbroken record of radio leadership, 10 years ahead of 4 years ago. See your Philco dealer now. From now on, he can give you the full story of what's new in radio from Philco, the leader, famous for quality the world over.
Gosh, what a voice.
Oh, thank you, Martha.
Glenn, she means Kate Smith.
As Jimmy Durante says, everybody wants to get into the act.
And speaking of funny men, Kate, you've been the Columbus of the kilocycles in discovering some top-notch radio comics.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, but I guess I was just lucky having people on the show like Ezra Stone and the Aldrich family, and Olin Landick, the Hackensack Gossip, Henny Youngman, and Abbott and Costello.
By the way, did you ever find out who's on first?
No, who's on second?
Why?
What's on first?
Why?
No, he's on third.
Then who's on short?
No, who's on second? There, you see? That's what the Abbott and Costello influence does to you, Paul.
And I'll bet every time you heard someone call, Henry!
Yep, I yelled, "Coming, Mother!"
And I'll bet you really had a problem with Henny Youngman.
Well, not really, except that when Ted would ask me why I was late for my rehearsal, I'd invariably say, "Oh, it's a funny thing. You know, something happened to me on the way to the studio." Then I'd go into one of Mr. Youngman's jokes like, "Gee, it's great to be here. Got up at 6:05, had a quick shower, took a brisk walk to the room clerk. He said he didn't have a thing. At 6:10, I was back in the lobby, fast asleep."
Ah, that Henny's got a lot of those.
Say, Paul, you mentioned me being the Columbus of the comics. You know, you did write well by a lot of vocalists.
Referring, of course, to the Groner, known locally as Mrs. Crosby's boy, Harry Lillis.
Harry Lillis Crosby. Isn't he the mayor of Boys Town?
No, Martha. Seriously, Paul, let's not be forgetting names like Mildred Bailey and the old rocking chair, our good friend Ramona, a chap by the name of Morton Downey, and the Met's own Helen Jepson. Yes, Paul, you have an imposing list.
Gosh, what I'd give to be on that list.
What do you mean, Martha? Well, you're called the GI favorite from Salerno to Saipan.
I know, but I'd like a civilian to call me occasionally.
All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. You take the next song coming up, and I'll wager that your phone will be ringing from now on.
Oh, no. They can disconnect my phone because I'm not singing a note.
Uh-oh. Sounds like insubordination.
Paul, it isn't every day we have Kate Smith on the show. And when she's here, all I want to do is listen.
Well, that's mighty sweet of you to say that, Martha.
Kate, you heard what Martha said, and there's a tune coming up.
Well, that has a faint odor of conspiracy, but it's 2 against 1, so, Mr. Whiteman, if you will, give the boys a downbeat, please. all I'd want you to know. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I'd go, just longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me. Off you would go in the mist of day. Never, never to know how I love you if I loved you. Longing to tell you, but afraid and shy, I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me. Off you would go in the mist of day. Never, never to know how I love you. If I loved you.
Ah, that's only great, Kate.
Thank you, Paul, but anybody can sing with Paul Whiteman's orchestra.
That's funny. I can't.
By the way, Kate, have you finished your Christmas shopping yet?
Yes, I have, Martha. I've
Kate,
finished it.
if you could give General Eisenhower a gift, what would it be?
Well, I'd give him a future as great as his past, Paul.
Miss Smith, if I were giving gifts to greats, I'd give you the biggest gift for all the first you've brought to the public. More especially for the Christmas stories you do this season of the year.
Thank you very much, Paul. And now, I'd like to add another first, if you don't mind. It's a delightful story by Roger Duvoisin that I think will become a Christmas classic. It's called The Christmas Whale. What a blustering, freezing, nipping wind blew at the North Pole that year. Snowdrifts piled so high around Santa's igloo that the red chimney sticking out looked very much like a red cherry on the top of a cream pie. Poor Santa had to dig a tunnel to come out of the house.
The snow just won't stop falling. It's worse than the blizzard of '88.
Small wonder that in such weather, Blitzen, the reindeer, suddenly felt a chill run down his back and had to be put to bed with aspirin, hot tea, and a hot water bottle. Small wonder that Vixen, right in the middle of a game of solitaire, and then Comet as he was practicing on the flute, and then all of Santa's reindeer, one after the other, felt the chill run down their backs and had to be put to bed with aspirin, hot tea, and water bottles. Yes, it was a flu epidemic.
Drat the snow and the wind and the cold and the flu. They would do that to my reindeer just before Christmas.
And Santa sat down at his desk to telephone to his doctor.
Hello. Hello, Doc. Get your dog sleigh ready and come over right away. It's urgent.
When the doc came in, Santa trotted behind him from one bed to the other, looking very worried. The doctor took each and every reindeer's temperature.
Is it serious, Doc?
No, nothing very serious. 3 or 4 weeks in bed and everything will be all right.
All right? How can you say all right? Don't you realize Christmas is coming? What shall I do? Who will draw my sleigh? It's a catastrophe. That's what it is, a catastrophe.
Poor Santa paced the floor. He wrung his hands in despair. He brooded so much that Mrs. Santa called him 3 times for lunch.
Santa Claus, eat your soup before it's cold. And don't despair. You still have time to find a way out of your trouble.
It's a catastrophe. By all the chimneys, by all the stockings, by all the Christmas trees in all the world, it's a catastrophic catastrophe.
While Santa thus lamented, all his friends, the North Pole animals, talked of nothing but the flu epidemic. Imagine the old gentleman missing the first Christmas in 500 years. Finally, the codfish called Santa.
Now listen to me, Santa. Stop walking and muttering for a moment, and your worries will swim away like frightened sardines. What you want is something fast enough and strong enough to carry your packages around the world. I have that thing for you. The whale.
The whale?
Yes, sir. Her back is as broad as an iceberg. She's as strong as the waves in a storm, and she's as fast as the wind.
My little cod, I think that you are the cleverest fish in all the seas. I'm going to see the whale right now.
The whale was playing far away among the gray waves, and Santa whistled and tramped and shouted until almost dinner time before she noticed him. Then she came at once, splashing the icy water around her. She got Santa Claus all wet. But when she heard what he wanted, she was indeed kind and obliging. The very next day, Santa rubbed his hands with joy while the walruses, the seals, the white bears, and the gulls came to fetch the mountain of Christmas packages which stood in the big shed. One by one, the packages were carried away to the water's edge to be piled into a new mountain on the broad back of the kindly whale. So many boxes were brought that the kindly whale stood lower and lower in the water.
Watch her waterline. Don't let her sink below it. She's got to breathe, you know.
The codfish was so careful that he wouldn't even let Santa Claus load a last little box of building blocks. Then everything was safely tied down with Christmas ribbons, and Santa and the kindly whale departed for New York. A pilot climbed upon the head of the kindly whale to lead her into the harbor where 2 little tugboats waited for them.
Ease her into the pier. Gently, boys. Big load aboard. Easy does it.
From New York, Santa and the kindly whale went to South America, to Africa, to Europe, and to Australia. And then, very weary but very, very happy, they went back home to the North Pole knowing that in spite of the flu epidemic, gift-giving would go on that Christmas just as it had for 500 years. Santa found whale traveling extremely convenient. If there were not so many pictures and stories about him and his reindeers, he would ask the kindly whale more often. After all, on Christmas cards, he'd look just as glorious riding a whale as he does driving a sleigh, because whales are very decorative.
Thanks, Kate, for that wonderful Christmas present. But it's time to brush the tinsel out of her hair and kind of step into the now and then department.
My favorite department. And what is it today, Paul?
Well, I'll give you a little hint. It was one of the first songs you ever sang on the air, and I recorded it.
My, you do have quite a memory, don't you?
Yep, it was in the year 1931, and fellas were hep if they came up to a girl and said, I love my wife, but oh, you kid.
I remember the Model A Fords with the pom-poms that said, "Chicken, here's your coop." Oh, yes, Paul. I'll never forget that year because it was the start of the Kate Smith-Ted Collins combination. But enough of this reminiscing. Will you please tell me the name of the tune? You're driving me crazy.
No, you're driving me crazy.
How can I? I don't have a driver's license. How can I drive you? Here we go with that Abbott and Costello bit again.
Well, all right, Kate. Just as the Whiteman Band recorded it the year you made it popular. You're driving me crazy.
Ah, but you love it, Paul. Went out with the boyish bobs. But now, Paul, let's hear how that same tune sounds with a few long hairs added.
Well, Glenn, how do you feel now that you can tell the folks about those great new Philco radios?
Oh, raring to go, Paul. Raring to go.
Yep, that's Philco all over. They're raring to go back in 1930. And they've been the leaders in radio ever since. And with all those new models I've seen, Philco is sure on the way again.
Which model do you like best, Paul?
Well, it's according to what you want, Glenn. Philco has a radio for everybody and at everybody's price. As for me, I want one of those great custom-built radio phonographs we played here in the Radio Hall of Fame a few weeks ago. I want to sit back in my easy chair and hear that Philco play a tune our band was playing back in 1930, the year Philco first took the lead in radio. my heart. Folks, you got a thrill coming when you hear your favorite records over the new Philco Dynamic Reproducer. In your home, it'll sound like we musicians listen to in a professional studio.
Paul, I like what you said about Philco having made a radio for everybody at everybody's price. Time is too short to do justice to all those great new Philco radios. Philco's revolutionary new Advanced FM, the sensational automatic record player, the new table models, and that terrific new portable. But tomorrow, you can go to your Philco dealer and get the full story of the great new radio developments from the laboratories of Philco, the leader. And soon, your new Philco will be bringing you...
God Bless America. As closely identified with Kate Smith as Bacon is with Eggs, Barnum with Bailey, and Sears with Roebuck.
A #1 song by a #1 citizen, Irving Berlin Ball.
Kate, no greater honor could come to our Radio Hall of Fame than you singing God Bless America.
Thank you.
As we swing closed the great portals of our Philco Radio Hall of Fame, we express to you, Kate Smith, our thanks. Long America's favorite for your brilliant career in public service, for your shrewd commentaries, for the melting magic of your song, we were honored to honor you.
Thank you very much, Paul, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, looks like we got a goodie coming up next week. Mrs. Cantor's favorite son, Ida's favorite husband, and your favorite comedian, Edgar Cantor, is going to be with us. Going to be around with us to chirp a couple of ditties will be Martha Tilton, and right behind her will be the orchestra and the choir, and swinging the old baton will be yours most sincerely, Paul Whiteman.
Don't miss Philco's other program, The Breakfast Club, with Don McNeil, Monday through Friday, over these same stations. This is the American Broadcasting Company.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Philip Morris Playhouse on Broadway. Producer-director of the Philip Morris Playhouse on Broadway, Charles Martin.
Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, the Philip Morris Playhouse on Broadway offers the world-famous star, Mr. Peter Lorre, in the gripping fantasy, The Night Has 1,000 Eyes, with Sloan, Jewel Lane, Ed Begley, and Mandel Kramer. Now, while our curtain is ringing up, ladies and gentlemen, I should like to suggest that you light up and relax with a Philip Morris, truly America's finest cigarette. You'll doubly enjoy our show. And now, as the house lights darken, the curtain is going up on The Night Has 1,000 Eyes, starring Mr. Peter Lorre.
This story begins in a railroad yard in San Francisco. The night was eerie, strange, weird. No moon was in the sky, and I was looking for a girl. I knew she was going to do something drastic, violent, terrible. As I walked along the empty tracks, I wondered if I was too late. Suddenly, as I approached a dim light, I looked down and saw her purse, her gloves, her lipstick, and other things all spilled out as though thrown away in haste. A sickening feeling came over me. Was I too late? If I'd only gotten there a minute sooner, where was she? I looked frantically for her. As I heard the screech of the approaching train far off, I started desperately to search. I spotted a tower with a winding stairway. A light was overhead, and suddenly there she was, way up on top, poised, ready to leap in front of the path of the approaching train. Frantically, I raced up the front-bound stairway, faster and faster, with every ounce of strength inside me. I made it just in time. It's all right, Jean.
Why did you stop me?
It's all right. Everything is all right.
No, it isn't. I can't face life anymore. It's too late.
It's never too late. Never. And I'll never let you go.
How did you know where I was?
Well, for one thing, your car.
But I didn't tell anybody where I was going.
I'll tell you about it later. First, let's have some coffee. When did you eat last?
Breakfast, I think.
Come on. Who made you do this?
No one.
Who told you that you were going to die?
What difference does it make?
Was it Mr. Triton?
Yes.
I know where he hangs out. That's where we'll have coffee. Come on. I took her to a little out-of-the-way place in the slum section of San Francisco. And as we opened the door, I saw Triton sitting at a table in the corner. He looked like a dead man with a curious, twisted smile on his face. We went right over. Mr. Triton stood up politely, then talked.
Oh, hello, Jean. I've ordered coffee for you.
Mr. Triton, how did you know I'd be here?
Oh, I knew. Hello, Elliot. Won't you sit down?
I think you have quite a bit of explaining to do, Mr. Triton.
To whom?
To the police.
If you like.
Elliot, why should you go to the police?
I know a confidence racket when I see one.
Mr. Triton's been trying to help me.
By scaring you into suicide?
Look, I don't blame you for being suspicious, Elliot, but I have no desire to hurt Jean.
Then what have you been doing to her?
I merely told her what I saw.
He told me I was to die soon. At night. Under the stars.
And you believe that, Jean?
Yes.
Look, Elliot, you're a scientist. You're a geologist. Would you be willing to listen to my story with the mind of a scientist?
Provided I'm free to go to the police afterwards.
There are no strings attached.
All right. I'm listening.
Oh, it was 20 years ago when he first began. I was doing a mind-reading act in a vaudeville show. I was billed as Triton, the mental wizard. I had two assistants, a lady named Jenny and a man named Harry Cortland. Cortland played the piano. Jenny went into the audience with slips of paper for their questions.
The next question, Triton, is from a lady. Can you tell me her name?
Yes, her name is Mary Gilkins. She lives at 123 Poe Avenue. Am I right?
What is the question she is asking, Triton?
The question she's asking is, will my mother-in-law go home soon?
That's right.
Well, Madame, I rarely meddle in domestic affairs, but I believe I can safely say that she will leave very soon.
Now, there's a gentleman in the audience, Triton.
Just a moment, Jenny. I'm receiving a very disrupting thought connected with Mrs. Gilkin.
Mrs. Gilkin?
Yes, that's right. I don't understand it. Mrs. Gilkin. Miss Gilkin, go home immediately at once. Your little boy's in trouble, in danger. Go home at once. The lady in the audience rushed home in a panic. She got there just in time. Her little boy had found some matches. The room was on fire. He was pretty badly burned, but his life was saved. It was then that I realized that somehow, somewhere, I had been given a mysterious gift, an inner eye, so that I could pierce the veils of tomorrow. When I left in the theater that night, a newsboy came up to sell me a paper, and as I handed him the money, I looked into his eyes, and I saw death sitting there. Next day, I heard he had been run down by a truck. How do you explain that, Elliot?
Good guesses, that's all.
Good guesses, huh? Let me tell you something that you didn't know. Jenny, the girl who assisted me in my act, was this girl's mother.
Jean?
Yes, Elliot. And Mr. Cortland, who played the piano for Mr. Triton, was my father.
Yes. Cortland and I were both in love with Jenny. Well, let me tell you what happened. One night, as Jenny was in the audience, the vision came again, and only this time it was a vision about Jenny.
Triton, there's a gentleman here. Can you tell me his name?
Yes, his name is,
I said, can you tell me his name, Triton?
His name is, no, I can't stand it. It can't be, I don't believe it. Ring down the curtain.
What's the matter?
Ring down the curtain, I said. Ring down the curtain. I can't go on anymore. He rang down the curtain, and Jenny rushed into my dressing room in a great state of frenzy.
What was the matter, Triton?
I don't know. I suddenly felt sick. I'll explain it to the manager.
You looked at me so strangely on stage. You had another one of those visions.
Huh? No.
You did. I know it.
No.
I can always tell.
Jenny, I love you, Jenny.
Then why don't we get married?
Because I can't marry you, Jenny.
Why not?
I did have a vision. I saw us married, and I saw you in childbirth, and a child lived.
And I died?
Yes, you died.
Oh, silly.
That's why I can't marry you. I won't let it happen, and I'm never going on stage again.
Oh, darling.
Look, Jenny, you marry Cortland. He loves you, and he's a fine man.
You can't mean all this.
I do, Jenny, and if you're wondering how I can support you, there's an oil stock, Comanche Oil. Tell him to buy it, all he can. It'll make you both rich for life. See, somebody once wrote a poem. Something about each man killing the thing he loves. He might have been writing about me. I knew that to save my sanity, I had to go, so I took the first train out. It happened to be westbound. It wasn't just Jenny I had to leave. It was everybody. I had become a sort of a zombie, a dead man walking, and I was the only one in the world who knew it. So there was a gold mining camp where I lived for 5 years.
Well, what happened to Jenny, Jean's mother?
She died when I was born.
Yes, I read about it in Variety the week after it happened. And then towards the end of the 5th year, I picked up a California newspaper, and I read about Harry Cortland, the oil man who had become rich from Comanche oil, the tip I had given your father years before.
Father mentioned that you were responsible.
And then do you remember 3 months ago? The night of your coming out party at the Mayfield Hotel. When I read about your happiness, I was happy. Until I listened to the radio.
And now the 11:55 news brought to you by your Comanche oil reporter. Flying his converted Army bomber today, Harry Cortland, multi-millionaire president of Comanche Oil, took off from LaGuardia Field in an attempt to smash the east-west speed record. Mr. Cortland expects to reach Los Angeles by...
No, he must get off the plane. He must get off. He must get off the plane. I must go see his daughter. It was after midnight when I reached your house. I pushed my way past the door, but your fiancé, Elliot, he stopped me.
Oh, wait a minute. Who are you? What do you want?
I must talk to Miss Cortland. I'm an old friend of her father's. I have an urgent message for him.
Well, I'm sorry, but he's not here.
Yes, I know, but I must reach him at once.
Well, I'm afraid that's impossible. He's flying from New York.
She flying nonstop?
Why, no. One stop in Wichita for fuel.
Well, then please call there. Leave a message for him to halt the flight.
Halt the flight? Why, he'd laugh at us. Just a minute. Jean.
Yes, Elliot?
Jean, did you hear?
Yes, I heard.
Please tell him the message comes from John Triton.
John Triton?
Yeah.
But Dad told me that John Triton was dead.
No, he's not dead. Please call him.
Why should Mr. Cortland stop the flight?
Because if he doesn't, the plane will crash.
And just how do you know that?
Does it matter? Is it too late to reach him?
No, I suppose not, but...
Well, then, please call.
What do you think, Elliot?
I think it's a lot of nonsense.
Well, what can you lose except $3 on a phone bill?
Well, all right. Hello, operator. Get me the municipal airport at Wichita, Kansas, please.
Mr. Triton, do you make it a practice to go around predicting airplane crashes?
No, I don't.
Maybe just the planes of very rich men?
No, not even those.
Well, then what is it? A bet that he won't break the record?
Hello, the night manager, please. Hello? This is Harry Cortland's daughter. I'd like a message delivered to my father when he lands. Oh, he has? No, that's all right. Goodbye. He's already taken off.
Well, good. That means he's got the record.
Yes, I hope so. I went home and buried myself in my room, and then in the morning, the news came over the radio.
And now we bring you a special message. The wreckage of the Comanche Angel, the plane in which Harry Cortland and his pilot were attempting to smash the east-west record, was discovered early today by forest rangers at Gallup, New Mexico. Both occupants of the plane are dead.
1 week later, there was a knock on my door. Oh, Miss Cortland.
Mr. Triton, we found out where you live. I had to come to see you.
I'm sorry, Miss Cortland, about your father. He was the best friend I ever had.
How did you know about my father?
I had an impression. I had a forewarning about 3 months ago.
If you knew this 3 months ago, why did you wait?
Why? Because I didn't believe it myself. But then when the time came, I became frightened, so I went to you. And last night, I had another vision.
Another vision?
Yes, I can see it again now as I look into your eyes.
Tell me, what do you see?
You're going to die.
Die? How soon?
Quite soon.
6 months? 1 month?
Sooner than that.
How soon? And where?
Within a few days. Before the end of the week.
When?
At night, under the stars.
Back to the Philip Morris Playhouse on Broadway, presenting The Night Has 1,000 Eyes, starring Peter Lorre.
Well, I went to see the police after that, the district attorney especially. I told him the whole story about Triton and my fiancée and his prediction of her death and her attempted suicide. In the meantime, Triton had evidently convinced Jean she needed his protection. They were going to defy fate together, so she invited him to her home. Only they weren't alone. Several business partners of her father's were there, too.
Come in, Mr. Triton.
Thank you, Jean.
These gentlemen were with Dad in the East, completing an oil merger before he died.
Yes.
This is Mr. Gilman, president of Mid-Tide Oil.
How do you do, Mr. Tyler?
How do you do?
This is Mr. Myers, attorney for the estate.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
And Peter Vincent, Dad's secretary.
Oh, yeah.
They've been going over Dad's papers. Some of the merger details were lost.
And the estate needs settling, too.
You'll forgive me, gentlemen, but has Jean told you about some of my terrible predictions?
We've heard something about it. It's very disturbing indeed.
No one seems to believe in you, Mr. Triton. But I believe in you. I know you're going to help me.
You see, somehow my fate seems inevitably bound up in Jean's.
It's very interesting. What precisely are you afraid of, Mr. Triton?
Last night, I saw a vision. First, a series of cloudy flashes, and then I heard a voice saying to Jean, "There's no danger now." And then I saw her again, lying on the stars. And then I heard a shot.
Sounds ridiculous.
Yes, I know, but I even saw something about myself.
What?
Oh, it's not important.
Did you see when the moment was?
Yes. Tomorrow night, as the clock strikes 11.
Come on in, Lieutenant.
All right, sir.
The police are here, Jean.
The police?
Yes, I was just down at the district attorney's office. I told them the whole story.
Elliot.
This is Lieutenant Shawn.
How do you do, Miss Cortland? Which one of you is Triton?
I'm John Triton.
You're under arrest, Mr. Triton.
Arrest for what?
I don't understand.
We've been talking with the police in New Mexico. The plane your father was in was wrecked in the mountains, but it did not hit a peak. It fell.
Fell?
Yes, ma'am, through a propeller.
That's not impossible.
No, not if somebody worked on the shaft with a file, which, according to the investigations, is exactly what happened.
Then my father was murdered.
Precisely, Mrs. Cortland. It's pretty easy to predict a murder, especially when you set the forces in motion yourself by sabotaging a plane. Come along, Mr. Triton.
Look, you're making a serious mistake, Lieutenant. My fate is linked to Miss Cortland's. I'm the only one who might save her tomorrow night at 11.
Your fate is linked to a pair of handcuffs. You're going downtown. In there, Triton.
Yes, sir. Look, Lieutenant, I'm completely innocent of the murder of Mr. Cortland. He was my best friend. Why should I want to kill him?
He was a very rich man. If you could pull some of this phony hocus-pocus on his daughter, claim to see into the future, you could pull off a nice series of blackmail stunts in this town. Quite a bunco game.
Look, Lieutenant, I desperately need your help. Miss Cortland's life hangs in a balance. If I'm allowed to go to her house to be near her, there's a possibility that I might use this power of mine to save her.
And if you go back to the house and the girl lives, as she will, you can claim that you were responsible and ask for a fat reward.
No, I'll ask for no reward, sir. In the first place, I haven't long to live.
You mean you're predicting your own death, Triton?
Very soon.
Quite an act.
An act, huh? Look, Lieutenant, you have on your desk some papers which I've never seen in my life.
Yeah, well?
They relate to a man convicted of murder, a man named Amos Block.
Oh, you could have looked over my shoulder.
I've been facing front ever since I came into your office. But I'll go on. Amos Block is to be moved to St. Quentin tomorrow, huh? He'll never make the trip. I see him in his cell, a suicide.
Well, that's one I can check. Quinn, now this is Shawn. How's Block getting along? What? When? I'll be darned. All right. Bye.
Well, what happened to him, Lieutenant?
Amos Block just killed himself in his cell.
Oh, Lieutenant, you can't say arrange that.
You know, my grandmother used to tell me stories about leprechauns and banshees. I used to think she was kidding, but now I'm beginning to wonder.
Will you let me go now?
Under armed guard, yes. We'll release you temporarily. Take him back to Miss Cortland's house, boys.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
So they brought Crichton back to the house. But before he got there, we had looked at a clock in the hallway. It was 5 minutes past 11, so the danger seemed over. Evidently, Crichton's prediction this time had missed. Jean was grateful. The suspense appeared to be over. She walked into the garden alone. There she looked up toward the stars. Then a man came toward her out of the shadows. It was Gilman, the president of the Mid-Tide Oil Company, her father's associate.
Oh, Mr. Gilman.
Hello, Jean. Looks like your troubles are all over. That man Triton was a hoax.
But the clock inside, I hear it now.
The clock is wrong. It's after 11.
What are you doing?
Don't be frightened. There's no danger now.
The voice saying,
Saying what?
there's no danger now. He must have meant you.
That's right, Jean. You're going to die.
No.
I'm going to strangle you.
At that moment, in front of the house, I was opening the door to let the lieutenant and Triton in.
We decided to let him come back here.
Where's Miss Cortland?
Oh, she's outside, but it's all over now. It's after
Somebody
11.
must have moved the clock. It's just 11 o'clock now.
What? Where are you going?
I'm going into the garden. She's in danger. After her, man. Come back here, you.
Rushed at breakneck speed toward the garden, the police in hot pursuit. He'd picked up a chair, evidently in an effort to save Jean's life. He was attempting to beat Gilman over the head, but the shot fired from one of the policeman's revolvers pierced his heart, and he fell dead on the ground. We rushed over.
We took care of him, Miss Cortland.
But it wasn't Triton. It was this man here, Gilman, who was trying to kill me.
That's ridiculous. She's out of her mind.
It was you, Mr. Gilman.
Now I know. There was a merger on before Mr. Cortland died. Gilman didn't want the options found.
What do you mean?
He didn't want the merger to go through. The options were due to expire the day after tomorrow, provided Miss Cortland didn't find them first.
Well, go on.
Well, he tried to make sure that she didn't. In that case, he could keep the option money and still retain control of the vast Mid-Tide oil interests.
So it was you, Mr. Gilman, who tampered with Mr. Cortland's plane. And he and Triton were in cahoots.
No, I think you're wrong, Lieutenant Shawn. I think Triton gave his life to save Jean.
Oh, the whole thing was an act. Otherwise, Miss Cortland would be dead like he predicted.
But he thought she was. His visions all came true. The time, the stars. Only, you see, they ended with his death. He couldn't see past that. He couldn't know that she was still alive.
This letter fell out of his pocket. It's for you, Elliot.
Dear Elliot, as you read this, I will be lying at your feet, killed by...
The revolver of a policeman. No one is to blame. My death was as certain as all the other events. Some of you who have just seen me die will doubt me. Or you may call this a series of weird coincidences. But I know that you, Elliot, and some of the others will not dismiss everything so easily. My own strange fate must make you ponder for a moment, must make you realize that there are things on earth still hidden from us, secret things, dark and mysterious, beyond the power and knowledge of mortal man.
Jewel Lane, Ed Begley, and Mandel Kramer.
Sergeant Heath, I tell you this is ridiculous. 2 men murdered in the same way and apparently by the same person, and you say you haven't even a single clue. What kind of a homicide department is this?
It's a good one, Commissioner. Just give me a little time. These murders were only committed in the past 12 hours.
But the victims were newspapermen, Heath. Do you understand? Newspapermen. The papers they worked on will needle us for days if we don't get results. I want fast work on this, do you hear me? Fast work and no alibis.
We're working on it, Commissioner. And the dead men weren't really newspapermen. They were critics. Dramatic critics.
Same thing. Somebody's making a joke out of this department. Killing 2 dramatic critics and leaving poetry pinned to their chests with a knife. Let's see those poems. Let's see them.
Here's the one we found on the first body, Commissioner, the body of Robert Carnes. But it's no clue. Believe me, it's no clue.
He was the leading critic, he always would insist, and that's the reason that I placed him first on my list. It's going to be an epidemic, that's what it's going to be. And give me the second poem, the one you found on Roger Dakin's body.
Yes, sir, here you are.
As a first-rate critic, you did rate high, and the first-rate critic is the second to die. Oh, take it, Heath. Yes. Take both of these poems and get me the man who wrote them, and get him fast before he murders every critic in the city.
Are you busy, Mr. Markham? Very busy, I mean.
The district attorney is never too busy to talk to the homicide department chief. What is it, Heath?
Well, it's the commissioner. He's riding me on those critic murders. I can't do miracles. I've checked every clue. There's nothing I've found that's any good to me. Try and tell him that, though.
Did you ever think of this motive, Heath?
Oh, what's that?
There was a new play open at the Rex Theater last night. Perhaps both of the critics were going to print bad notices. Perhaps somebody didn't want those.
You can stop right there, D.A. I checked that the first thing. The notices both critics wrote were great. I'm stumped, D.A. I don't even know where to look for a killer.
I see. You think that perhaps I might know someone?
You mean Philo Vance? Now listen, D.A., I don't want Vance in on this case. He's all I need for me to really blow my top.
Well, in that case, I won't call him. I thought for a moment that you might have been hinting that I do, but as long as you feel so strongly, why, I wouldn't think of it.
Oh, what's the use? Call him, D.A. Get him to go to work. That's the reason I came up to see you in the first place.
Really?
Poetry and murder. What a combination. Maybe Vance can figure out what it all means.
That's the story, Vance, all of it. Definitely interesting, isn't it?
I suppose so. Let me see now. The first murdered critic was Robert Carnes. Carnes. Isn't he the one that married Edna Bowley, the dancer?
Some years ago, I believe, Vance. Yes, he's the one.
And wasn't she being sponsored before her marriage by Mike Wilcox, the racket king?
Mike did have an interest in her. But he's hardly the poetry type, Vance. Don't forget those poems pinned to the chests of the 2 victims.
I haven't forgotten them. Markham, there's a wonderful art exhibit at the Madison Galleries this afternoon. I was going to take Ellen and visit there.
The Madison Gallery visit will be postponed because of my visit here?
Precisely. I've changed from the Madison to the Rogues Gallery. Markham, I'm going to see our friend Mike Wilcox.
My maid said you wanted to speak to me.
Yeah, lady. I'm Longfellow. I work for Mike Wilcox. He wants to see you.
Mike sent you here? Why?
Look, I don't ask the boss questions. I'm glad I got a job. Who else would hire a guy like me? 5 foot nothing on my tiptoes.
And they call you Longfellow? Rather quaint, isn't it?
Yeah, that's everybody's idea of a gag. Are we ready to go, lady?
Yes, but I don't see what Mike can want with me. After all, my husband has just been killed. It wouldn't do either of us any good if I was seen with Mike.
Lady, I don't know nothing about that. Mike says to bring you down, I'm going to bring you down. That's my way of keeping my job. Yeah, and my health.
If I move here, he'll jump me. Get to my king row, and I'm a dead Joe. But if I move in this square, he can't do nothing. So I move in this square. Yeah? Who is it?
Hello, Mr. Wilcox. I'm Philo Vance.
Hi, Vance. You play checkers?
Yes, but I've no desire to play at the moment. Well, playing checkers with yourself, eh? That's a new one. Who's winning?
Me. I always win. Well, Vance, the boy's downstairs says he wanted to see me. So I says if he wants to see me, let him come up. So you're up. And what do you want to see me about?
About the murder of Robert Carnes, the drama critic. The same person also killed another critic. But I'm not quite as interested in the second murder as I am in Carnes' death. You used to go with Carnes' present wife, didn't you?
Edna? Sure. What about her?
Nothing. Except that from what I've heard, this Carnes wasn't too kindly an individual. Maybe you resented the way he treated his wife.
And wrote them poems, too?
No, that I doubt very much. When did you last see Mrs. Carnes, Mr. Wilcox?
Oh, a couple of years ago. Well, I figure it'll be a couple of years before I see her again. Well, how's for a game of checkers, Vance? You look smart enough to be able to play checkers.
Thank you very much, but I'm sorry
hold it. Yeah?
I got it, boss. We're here.
Well, in a minute, Longy. I'll buzz you.
There's nothing you can tell me about Robert Carnes' murder, Mr. Wilcox?
Oh, no, not me. When I read about it, I says to myself, well, somebody must not like the critics, I said. Guess maybe that's so, huh?
Maybe. Both of them wrote their last notices and their death notices at the same time. Maybe there's some connection between the two.
There may be. I'm glad it ain't my business to find out. I got time for one game, Vance? Just one game?
No, I think not. I'd better be moving along. Thanks, Wilcox. Maybe we'll meet again.
Okay, Longy, you can bring her in now.
All right, boss.
Let's see. Suppose I do move here. Somebody's going to jump me. And I knock off two of his guys like this. Not bad, not bad, not bad.
Hello, Mike.
Hello, beautiful. Come on in.
Me too, boss.
No, I don't want you, long fella. Only Mrs. Carnes. We got to talk about you. When I heard about your husband getting knocked off, I says to myself, that dirty rat figured to get it. I've kept pretty good track how he was breaking you down. Beautiful, you need something? Dough, a mouthpiece? Anything at all?
You think that I...
Me, I ain't a thinking type, baby. I just got the same yen for you that I always had. And nobody's going to push you around. Ever.
I don't need anything, Mike, but thanks. Thanks just the same. Mike, it wasn't you who had Robert. You didn't...
Just, relax, baby. Relax. I'm not even interested in who knocked your husband off. So I'll make a deal with you, huh? You don't ask me any questions. I don't ask you none.
Mr. Vance's office. Miss Deering speaking.
Ellen, this is Vance.
Oh, where have you been, Mr. Vance? People have been calling right and left.
I don't want to know anything about calls right now. Listen, Ellen, get your hat. We're going to the theater.
Theater at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. What's happening there at this time?
Nothing very much, unless I can make something happen. The Rex Theater in half an hour. I'll be waiting.
I don't mind going to a theater when nothing's on the stage, Vance. But must we wait in the lobby? And why did you bring me down here, please?
Because this is as good a place as any to start working on those poetic murders.
Oh?
Let me think a moment. A new play opened here last night. Robert Carnes and the other critics were here, no question about that. Both of the murdered critics, Robert Carnes and Roger Dakins, left and wrote excellent reviews of the show.
Well, that stops the suggestion I was going to make. Stops it just like that.
If it were that simple, Ellen, Markham would never have called me in. I want to get a look at the seats the critics sat in. That might mean something.
Hello there, Vance.
Sibleton. How are you, Sibleton? Well, I hear you have a hit.
It's the finest play I've ever produced. Trying to buy some tickets?
Not at the moment. Miss Deering, may I present Mr. Sibleton?
How do you do, Mr. Sibleton?
Sibleton, I'd like to go into the theater for a moment, if you don't mind.
I don't mind, I guess, Vance. I just don't understand.
I'm working on the murder of those two critics. Oh. I just want to look at their seats. They were both here last night.
Yes, they were. I don't know what you expect to find, but come on in. I'll get the door. Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ellen.
Thank you. Which way, Mr. Sibleton?
Straight ahead and down the middle aisle.
An empty theater's an imposing sight, don't you think, Ellen?
It is, I suppose, but not for a producer who thinks he has a hit. Then it's a catastrophe.
Mrs. Deering is right.
Yeah.
Well, I won't have that worry, not with this show. Right down this aisle.
Right. By the way, it seems to me that I recall Robert Carnes panning your last show, Sibbleton.
Oh, he wasn't the only one. You see, we have every critic in town here on opening nights, from newspapers, magazines, trade papers. And practically every one of them took a crack at that last epic of mine.
Including Roger Dakins?
Well, every time Carnes pans anything, Dakins does too. Or rather did, poor fellow. In fact, the trio of Carnes, Dakins, and Moore was something every producer had nightmares about. Oh, here we are.
Oh, good seat. Who's Moore?
Edward Moore. He's on the Chronicle.
Oh, yes.
He and Carnes and Dakins liked practically nothing this season. So this seat on the aisle was Robert Carnes, eh, Sibbleton?
That's right. Dakins sat next to him, and Moore next to Dakins.
Mm-hmm. Here. Are all the seats in these few rows reserved for the press on opening nights?
Oh, all of them except the first 5 seats in row E. Those are mine for every performance. We call them house seats. They're for me and my personal friends.
You certainly give away a lot of coal before you want it, Sibbleton.
It must be worth it. Look at all the great publicity he gets.
When the show is good, that is.
Yes. Sibbleton, how well did you know Carnes?
Oh, not very. He made sure of that. He made it a rule never to socialize with the producers. Claimed it might influence his judgment.
Not bad reasoning. I've just been thinking of something. I wonder if Edward Moore would be at his newspaper at about this time.
Moore, the third member of the critics' trio?
Yes. Think so, Sibbleton?
I haven't the slightest idea. We could go back to my office and call if you like.
Yes, I think I...
Is that you, Vance?
What,
Yes.
Mr. Markham?
I'm here, Markham, right down the center aisle.
Right. With you in just a few seconds.
Right. Do you know Mr. Markham, Sibbleton?
District Attorney? Oh, I know him socially, of course.
Hello, Vance. Ellen.
Hello, Markham.
Hello, Mr. Markham.
Oh, hello, Sibbleton.
Hello, Mr. Markham. Nice to see you again.
What's going on, Markham? You just interrupted a pilgrimage to the telephone. I thought I'd try to get a lead on the 2 poetic murders from Edward Moore.
And stop right here, then, Vance. Moore was found dead this afternoon with a knife in his heart and one of those silly poems pinned to his chest.
Oh, no.
He has been dead for quite some time. I'm glad you left word that you'd be here, Vance. I knew you wanted to be kept informed, so I came down myself.
Moore dead, too. Vance, what is all this?
Frankly, I don't know. What was written on the 3rd note, Markham?
I'll read it to you. The curtain's down, death slams the door. The play thus ends with no encore. Vance, what's happening in this city of ours?
You know what's happening in the city? A murderer is going to town.
This is District Attorney Markham. 3 of this city's leading dramatic critics have been murdered, and all 3 had bits of poetry pinned to their chests when found. The poems have proved no clue at all to any of us, including Philo Vance, who has discovered only that the wife of Robert Carnes, first of the critics to die, was the former girlfriend of Mike Wilcox, racketeer. Sergeant Heath, however, has picked up a character named Longfellow, diminutive stooge for Wilcox. And Vance and I are waiting for him in my office.
To be very practical about these murders, Markham, we're not doing very well.
We might be doing wonderfully when Heath gets here. He's picked up that hired hand of Mike Wilcox's, you know.
I hope he hasn't found the killer, Markham.
Huh?
Oh, not that I begrudge Heath the glory of tracking down our murderer. It's just that this is the first case I've worked on this long without even venting. I'd hate for it to turn out so simple after all that.
I wouldn't hate it at all, Vance. With due respect to your great admiration for the unusual in crime, it's the ordinary criminal that makes the work of a district attorney easier.
I know what you mean. I guess I was being a bit self-centered.
All right, go on, get in there.
Yeah, you don't have to push. I'm getting.
And get in that chair, sit down, and don't get up until I tell you to.
You sure are tough around this place. Stop or I'll yawn right in your face.
Sit down and shut up. Now, here he is, D.A., the guy that knifed those 3 critics. His name is Longfellow.
Really? How'd you do it, Longfellow?
This guy's slightly off the beam. I think he's living in a dream.
Get this, D.A. He worked for Mike Wilcox. Everybody knows what a torch Mike was carrying for Edna Boley when she married Robert Carnes. Carnes was pretty tough on the gal. Everybody knows that, too. So Mike sent Longfellow to bump Carnes.
Really?
Sure. Listen, D.A., they call this punk Longfellow. Everybody thinks they do that as a gag on account of he's so small. Only I find out they do it because he's spouting poetry all the time.
Yes.
Well, don't you get it? Spouting poetry. Those notes on the dead bodies. Poetry. This mug wanted everybody in the mob to know he knocked off Carnes and the other two, so he put poems on them. Simple.
Listen to him rave. Hey, dear, you gonna let this flat-foot pin a bum rap on me? I never killed nobody. I never used a knife in my life.
That speaks well for your record, but very badly for your manners.
Huh? Never mind Vance, Longfellow. I don't... Oh, leaving Vance?
I'm afraid I must tear myself away. I have an appointment with a very charming young lady, Miss Edna Carnes. Maybe you have the murderer, Sergeant Heath. If so, you can keep him. But I have an appointment, and it's quite necessary that I keep it.
Yeah? Come in.
Well, Wilcox. Surprised to find you here.
You don't look it, Vance. Don't mind me, I'm just playing some solitaire.
I understood that Mrs. Edna Carnes lived here. You're putting the Red Queen on a Red King.
Don't kibitz, Vance. Sit down and play some gin if you want, but don't kibitz. How about a game of gin?
I'd just as soon not right now, thanks.
Ah, come on. I gotta play with somebody. Always at solitaire. I can't find nobody to play with.
Maybe your friends wouldn't like what happened to them if they were to win.
Okay, Vance, if that's the way you want it. What are you doing here?
Paying a call on Mrs. Carnes. Where is she?
She ain't home. She wouldn't want to see you even if she was home. Catch on? I'll take that. You could leave any time now, Vance. It'd be all right with me. Yeah?
Hello, is Mr. Philo Vance there, please?
Yeah, he's here. For you, Vance.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Vance? Ellen. I called Markham and he told me where you were. Hop right back here, Vance, on the double.
I'm sorry, Ellen. I'll be detained here for a while. I'm waiting for Mrs. Carnes to return home.
She's not going to return home, Vance. She's here, right here in your office, and she's going to wait here until you get back.
Go ahead, Mrs. Carnes. Tell me anything you think might help.
Mr. Vance, has it bothered you at all that there were two other critics murdered right after my husband was killed?
Quite a bit, Mrs. Carnes. Frankly, I haven't the slightest idea why.
I have. My husband's best friends were Roger Dakins and Edward Moore. The night he was murdered, I found a note in the library reading, "If anything happens to me, Roger or Edward will know who did it."
And you destroyed that note?
Yes. I didn't want the police to question them. The murderer did me a favor, Mr. Vance. You don't know what a life I've led with my husband. He was impossible, completely impossible. If he hadn't threatened me, I'd have left him years ago.
I see. Well, this is very interesting, Mrs. Carnes. Your husband probably told his murderer that it would do him no good to kill him because his two friends would go to the police. There was nothing for the killer to do then but wipe out Dakins and Moore.
I know that now.
Well, Mrs. Carnes, your actions have certainly confused us. I understood the pleasant front your husband put up in public was just a mask, but
Everything about him was either cruel or false, from the name Robert Carnes to the brilliant words he let drop carelessly, even though he'd spent half the night thinking them up. Oh, I couldn't stand him. I just couldn't.
I was thinking that when I made the appointment to see you. I thought maybe you'd killed him.
Me? But I came down here to tell you all this. Doesn't that clear me? I couldn't see you at the apartment. Mike was there, so I came down to your office. That must clear me.
Not necessarily, Mrs. Carnes. You might have given me some information just to throw me off. However, I'm not going to detain you. You may leave if you like. Miss Deering.
Yes, Mr. Vance.
Mrs. Carnes is leaving.
I'm sorry you think the way you do, Mr. Vance. I assure you I came down to see you with only one purpose.
Thank you for coming, Mrs. Carnes. We'll meet again. Goodbye.
This way, Mrs. Carnes, please.
Thank you. Goodbye, Mr. Vance.
Goodbye. Don't go, Miss Deering.
Goodbye, Mrs. Carnes. Yes, Vance, what is it?
We're finally making progress, Ellen. I know now why all three critics were murdered, and that there will be no more killings, at least by the same murderer.
Well, that's good news to any prospective victims. What else is up?
Mrs. Carnes just let drop something I didn't know.
Oh?
She said that Robert Carnes was not his right name. He probably had it changed legally years ago. Find out what his name used to be, Ellen. I've got a hunch it's going to lead to something very important. You don't mind my dropping into your office at this time, do you, Mr. Silverton?
Not at all, Vance. I'm glad to be of service. You want to see the show tonight? I can let you have my house seats.
Some other time, perhaps, but not tonight, Mr. Silverton.
Right.
You told me you didn't know Roger Carnes socially.
That's right, I didn't.
Well, this is very strange, then. You have an odd name, Simpleton. Very unusual.
I suppose that's right.
My secretary found out that Roger Carnes' real name was Simpleton. Was he a relation?
My brother. Older brother. Only I never talked about that. He was nobody to be proud of.
So I've heard from a number of sources. What did he have on you, Mr. Simpleton? What? Must have been something very important for you to have killed him to keep him quiet.
You think I killed him?
Not exactly. I know you did. You see these 2 tickets for your theater, Mr. Simpleton? They were dropped at the scene of your brother's murder.
And they prove I killed him? Oh, now that...
Oh, but they do. You see, these tickets are house seats. Your house seats. The ones that are reserved for you. You told me about them in the theater yesterday, remember? First 5 seats in row E. That's what these are for.
Let me have them.
There's a gun in that drawer, I presume.
Not anymore, there isn't. It's in my hand. I'm sorry about this, Vance. I liked you.
Well enough to put that gun away?
Hardly.
No, I don't blame you. Self-preservation is still the primary law of human motivation. By the way, I know why you killed Dakins and Moore. But why did you kill your brother?
Why did Cain kill Abel? My brother and I had an argument. A terrible argument. He was about to write a magazine article telling a lot of things about me that are best forgotten. They happened years ago, before we came to this country. Robert called me up to talk me about it, and I warned him not to write it.
That's another form of self-preservation. I rather thought it was something like that. Your poetry idea was very brilliant, Simpleton. You knew about Mike Wilcox and your brother's wife, didn't you?
Of course. Everybody knew that.
You also knew Wilcox had a little accomplice with a rather odd name of Longfellow, who on occasion was addicted to poetry. You thought the police would go to Wilcox and look no further than his hireling Longfellow.
You know I've got to kill you, Vance. Kill you now.
No poetry?
No poetry.
I'm sorry. I rather relished the wedding of the muse and murder. Markham, Heath, you can come in now.
What?
All right, drop that gun. Drop it fast. Come on in, boys.
Vance. You have the police outside all the time.
You ought to drop that gun for one thing, Simpleton. What? Sergeant Heath doesn't like to be kept waiting.
All right, get him outside, boys. He got his gun.
Let me go.
Hello, Markham.
Hello, Vance. Well, you've done your part, and very well, too. From here on in, I'll take it and make certain, as the book has it, that justice triumphs.
Do that, Markham. And in this case, wouldn't you say that it was poetic justice?
Well, Vance, since you wound up the poetic murder case, don't you think we ought to close up shop for the day?
Not especially, Ellen. You know, there still is the possibility that Markham might call.
At this hour? It's late, you know.
At last report, murderers weren't keeping office hours.
I understand. The only thing I don't understand is how a murderer as clever as this Silverton could have been careless enough to drop a pair of theater tickets at the scene of the first murder.
Oh, he didn't drop any tickets.
Well, you told me that's how he started talking.
I told him I found the tickets, Ellen. In fact, I even waved a couple of tickets in front of his face. Only they were opera tickets that I'd gotten for us for next week.
Why, Vance, you and the truth are becoming slight strangers of late.
When you're trying to trap a murderer, Ellen, any means is fair, in my opinion. By the way, I've just composed a little couplet. Like to hear it?
Definitely.
Very well, then. The last chapter's written. The last words, my friend, are the poetic murder case is over. We've come to the end.
and gentlemen, quiet, please. A murder has been committed. Here's your chance to play detective. Phil Coe Mysteries on the air. The new, exciting, thrilling, chilling radio contest that pays you huge cash prizes for having fun. Every week at this same time over this station, your Philco radio tube dealer brings you transcribed the Philco Mystery Contest. $50,000 in cash for the winners. $50,000 in cash for solving simple mysteries. Weekly prizes, big grand prizes. A real contest of skill. Anybody can enter, nothing to buy, and you may win. All you need is the free Philco Mystery book your Philco tube dealer will give you. Tells you all the amazing details. Shows you how easily you can win. Lists all the prizes. Contains free entry blanks. You cannot win without this book. Get your free copy right away. All ready? Got your thinking caps on? Then here goes Philco Mystery number 1. Listen carefully. Keep your wits about you. Better have pencil and paper handy. Jot things down in your Philco Mystery book, of course, if you already have it. And if you haven't, be sure you get it as soon as possible. Phyllis Coe, her friends call her Phil Coe, the beautiful girl detective, daughter of the late Philip Coe, world-famous criminologist, is going to solve a mystery right before your ears. And then you are going to show how she solved it. Come on, let's play detective. Your first case is the case of the dead magician. Up there on the stage of the Regal Variety Theater, the great Umberto is just completing his clever manipulation of a pack of cards. The trick the magician is doing now is all the more amazing because Umberto is wearing a pair of gloves. Ah, there it is. Using only one hand, with a lightning-quick gesture, he has fanned the whole pack out like a peacock's tail. It's a beautiful trick, and the audience appreciates Umberto's skill as well they should. He takes a bow, and now he's taking off the gloves. He walks over to the wings, and with studied carelessness, he tosses the gloves to someone waiting off stage. And now he's back in the center of the stage to make an announcement. The great Umberto.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you. And now comes my most remarkable achievement. The illusion which has made me famous in 37 countries of the world. It gives me particular pride to perform my illusion this evening because seated here before me in the front row is Miss Phyllis Coe, the daughter of that world-famous criminologist, the late Philip Coe. And seated beside this charming lady is the well-known mystery novelist, Mr. Thomas Taylor. And now for my amazing illusion. A human being, a man or a woman from this audience, will seat himself upon this chair here on the stage. I will stand in front of this person with my back to the audience and have the lights put out for the merest instant. When the lights are again put on, the person will have disappeared. Now, who will be so kind as to come up here to the stage to assist me? Please, someone, anyone. There is no danger.
Me?
Ah, this young lady here.
Will I do, mister?
Perfectly, my dear. Come up these little steps, please. Allow me.
Thanks.
Now, you will kindly be seated upon this chair.
All right. Now what do I do?
You do nothing. It is I who will do.
Oh.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the young lady is seated. And now I stand in front of the young lady with my back to the audience. So, are you ready, my dear?
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Now I will count 3 slowly. On the count of 3, please flash all the lights off. And then on again instantly. Yes, sir. And now I begin to count. 1, 2, 3.
Will everyone please remain seated? Umberto is dead! Quiet, please. Quiet, everybody, quiet. No, that magician's been murdered. We don't know whether he's been murdered or not, madam, but he has been shot. Oh. Now, can all of you ushers and stagehands hear me? Yes. My name is Phyllis Coe. I'm a criminologist, an amateur, but still I've had experience with these cases. I want you ushers and stagehands to guard all the exits. All right. Don't let anyone leave the theater. One of you, please go out and get the police. Okay, I will. Now, is there a doctor in the audience?
Yes, Miss Coe, I'm a doctor.
Oh, please come up here and examine this man.
Of course, immediately.
Phil.
What, Tom?
You sure you want to get mixed up in this?
Of course I do. It's my duty.
Well, I might get another novel out of this, but don't do anything rash,
Well,
huh?
don't worry. Well, Doctor, what about it?
This man is dead. The bullet entered his chest on the right side. Who could have done it, Miss Cole?
Entered the front of the body on the right side. Well, that girl could have done it. She was rather close to the magician, you'll remember.
The girl. Of course, it must have been the girl. But where is
She
she?
must have run away. You over there. Are you one of the stage hands?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Eddie Daniels, the property man.
All right, Eddie. Stand by, will you please? Sure. I may want to ask you a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Tom.
Yes, Phil?
Right after the shot, I heard a gun thrown on the stage. Will you look for it, please?
Sure.
It's probably under that black curtain at the back of the stage.
Yep, you're right. It is here. Shall I pick it up?
Yes, but do it with a handkerchief. And examine the gun for fingerprints.
Righto.
Doctor, have you found anything of interest?
Not much, Miss Cole. As I told you, the bullet entered the right side of his chest.
Yes.
And there are no powder marks or burns on the dress shirt or coat.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Oh, this is simply awful.
Oh, please, you'll have to be quiet, miss.
I'm not a miss, I'm a widow. I'm Mrs. R.J. Brown.
Well, Mrs. Brown, I must ask you to be quiet.
How can I be quiet? Oh,
Phil, look out!
Oh!
Boy, that was close.
You're telling me.
Hey, I'll say it was close, Miss Cole. That sandbag fell all the way down from the fly loft over the stage.
Where are the ropes that control these sandbags?
They're backstage. Come on back and I'll show you.
All right. Lead the way, please.
I'm tagging along, Phil.
All right, Tom.
Now, Miss Cole, here are the ropes.
I see. And here's the one that dropped the sandbag after it was loosened.
Well, whoever did it must be backstage here somewhere.
Who's back here? You may as well come out and show yourself.
All right. Line up the three of you.
Look out, Tommy has a gun.
I'll drill the first one of you that moves. Get me?
Cut it out, Sam.
Shut up, Eddie. This is my business.
Eddie, do you know this man?
Why, sure. It's Sam Bolivar, who plays the trombone in the orchestra. Okay, Sam, hand over that gun.
No, you don't. Get away, Eddie.
Eddie!
Now, don't worry, Miss Cole. That gun's loaded with blanks for one of the dramatic sketches on this week's bill. Sam must have swiped it out of my property room here. One move out of you, Sam, and I'll slug you.
Let's all go into your property room, Eddie.
Yeah, sure, Miss Cole.
All right, Sam, you first.
Okay, I'm going.
You come in too, Eddie.
Yeah, sure.
And you, Tom.
And how?
Now, Sam, why did you drop that sandbag?
I wanted to scare you out of the theater.
Why? Did you shoot Umberto?
What if I did?
Did you or didn't you?
Yeah, I shot him, the dirty skunk. He deserved worse than that. Shooting was too good for him.
Never mind that. Where were you standing when you shot him?
Right behind him, down in the orchestra pit.
I see. And then you threw the gun up on the stage?
Yeah. Then I ducked out under the stage, through the door in the orchestra pit.
Tom, are there many fingerprints on the murder gun?
As a matter of fact, darling, there don't seem to be any. The murderer probably wore gloves.
Thanks. Now, Eddie,
Yeah?
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
You were backstage when the shooting occurred, so you might be able to help us clear up a few points.
Okay, Miss Cole.
What's the use of wasting any more time? I told you I shot the guy, didn't I?
Yes, but I still want to talk to Eddie. Now, Eddie, you said you're the property man, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Just what are your duties?
Well, it's my job to take care of the props. You know, anything that an actor handles on stage is called a prop. It may be a pack of cigarettes, a cane, or a bunch of flowers, or anything. For instance, those gloves that Umberto threw to me.
I see. Where were you when Umberto was shot?
I was in the wings. I was waiting to take that chair off after his act.
You were there when the lights went out?
Yes, ma'am. I heard Umberto count 3, and then the shot was fired.
I see. All right, Eddie, thank
Let
you.
me go. I didn't do it. I tell you, I didn't do it. Let me
that's
go.
what you
I
say.
didn't do it.
Hey, Captain, bring that girl in here, will you?
Okay, come on, you.
I didn't do it. Let me go. I didn't
I
do
found
it.
this girl running down 13th Street with a stage doorman chasing her. So I nabbed her and brought her back in.
Thanks, officer. Go out on the stage, will you? You might be able to help.
Okay.
Sam, what are you doing here?
Well, Glenda, I shot Umberto, and they caught me.
Oh, no, Sam, you didn't do it. You didn't.
Now, wait a minute, Glenda. How do you know Sam?
Well, he's my boyfriend. We're going to be married. But he didn't do it. I did it. I shot Umberto.
Glenda, what are you saying?
Mother.
Mrs. Brown.
I heard what she just said. But she didn't do it, I tell you. I did shoot him, Mom. I did.
They're both crazy, Miss Cole. I told you I did it. Ain't that enough?
Well, this is the craziest murder I ever heard of. Everybody wants to go to jail.
Be quiet, Tom.
Yes, dear.
Now, Mrs. Brown,
I tell you, my daughter didn't do it. I shot Umberto.
Why?
Because 3 years ago I had another daughter, Glenda's younger sister. She met Umberto and fell in love with him. And one night they ran away together and got married. Then I began to get letters from my baby. Heartbreaking letters. She said that her husband mistreated her, beat her terribly. Several months later, they sent her back to me. She had taken poison. I swore then that I'd get the man who killed my baby, and now I've had my revenge. That man's dead, and I killed him. I was sitting in the front row, and when the lights went out, I shot him and threw the gun up on the stage.
I was sitting in the audience, too, Mrs. Brown. But I didn't see any flash when the shot was fired.
Of course you didn't. I tell you, I shot him because of what he did to my sister. I held the gun right against his chest, and I fired.
You did not, Glenda.
Sam, I tell you, I did.
You women are both lying to save each other.
And Sam, you're lying to save Glenda. Oh, why don't you children stop it? I shot that beast, and I'm ready to take the consequences.
Mrs. Brown, there are no fingerprints on the gun.
Well, I wrapped a handkerchief around the gun, yes. Yes, that's what I did.
You see, Miss Coe, you can see that my mother's lying. I did it, I tell you. I did
now
it.
Wait. Be quiet, all of you. Tom.
Yes, Phil.
Since you're holding the murder gun in your hand, I suggest you aim it at Eddie Daniels, the property man.
Huh? It's loaded, you know.
Of course. And if Eddie makes a move, you'd better pull the trigger.
Hey, wait a minute. What's the idea?
My friends, Eddie Daniels is the only one in this room who could possibly have killed Umberto. Are you going to tell us about it, Eddie?
Yes, ma'am. I guess I might as well. Now that I look back on what I've said during the past 10 minutes, I can see that I made enough mistakes to hang an army. Yeah, I stood in the wings and shot that rat Umberto and chucked the gun out toward those curtains on the stage. Umberto seemed to have a way with young girls, and like Mrs. Brown here, I once had a daughter, too. Well, come on. What are we waiting for?
So Eddie Daniels, the property man, murdered the great Umberto. And you have just heard Phil Coe, the famous girl detective, find the murderer. Of course, you know how Phil Coe found it out. You heard everything that happened. You know everything Phil knew. It ought to be very simple for you to point out why Phil Coe suspected Eddie. Can you? How good a detective are you? $50,000 in cash prizes are waiting for the best detectives among you listeners to this program. Over 2,000 weekly prizes, and 51 huge grand prizes in the great Phyl Coe Mystery Contest. It's all fully explained, with fascinating diagrams and full details in the Phyl Coe Mystery Book, which your Philco tube dealer will give you free. If you haven't yours already, get it just as soon as you can. Then you can enter this easy contest that pays big cash rewards. There never was a simpler, easier, more exciting contest. Nothing to buy. Anybody can enter. This is a real contest of skill. Conciseness, clearness, neatness, and good common sense are the only things that count. Enter the Philco Mystery Contest now. Go to your Philco tube dealer and get the free mystery book with the official entry blanks. Read the rules and directions carefully. Follow them exactly. Study the diagram in the case of the dead magician. Then answer the simple question. Your answer may be the winner. Don't miss a single one of the Philco Mysteries. Listen every week at this time over this station. Better be sure you have Philco radio tubes in your set so that reception will be good and clear, and you won't miss a single important detail of any mystery program. You want to win some of that $50,000 in cash, don't you? Then get started. Be a detective. It's fun. Next week, Phil Coe, the girl detective, brings you another swell mystery, The Missing Masterpiece. Listen in at this same time over this same station. Read all about it beforehand in the free Philco Mystery Book. We hope you win.
Police headquarters? Just a minute, Sheriff.
Chief's office.
Give me Chief Robertson, quick.
Yes, sir. For you, Chief.
Chief Robertson.
This is Sheriff Klein, Harmonsville. We've just had an earthquake. Half the town is in ruins. We need help and need it quick. There's another one now. We've just...
Hello? 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 Peters, it's an earthquake. Put every available officer on duty.
Yes, sir. Hey, look at that chandelier swing, sir. Look out!
Never mind the chandelier. It's over now. We just got a sample of the quake that hit Harmonsville. Sheriff Klein phoned that it's destroyed half the town. We've got to get aid there quick.
Yes, sir.
And, Peters.
Yes?
Put all exchange officers to work calling hospitals and relief agencies. We need all available doctors and nurses.
Yes, sir.
Radio?
Send all South area squad cars to cover the earthquake at Harmonsville. Have them report directly to us.
Yes, sir. Calling all cars. Attention all cars. Cars 21 to 55 depart immediately to investigate the earthquake at Harmonsville. Western District Patrol will move into southern area and take up local patrol. Calling all cars. Attention all cars.
Police headquarters calling General Hospital. There's been an earthquake.
Dr. Anderson, Police headquarters, doctor. All doctors are needed at Harmonsville on emergency
Police
duty.
headquarters. We need all available nurses at Harmonsville. Earthquake. Emergency.
Order company 6, 12, and 14 to aid the Harmonsville Fire Department. The whole town is in flames. Quake, Chief. Order's been restored, and here's a complete list of dead and injured, sir.
Good. Put them on the desk.
Well, the worst is all over now, Chief. Don't you think you better get some sleep?
Sleep? No, I'm good for the rest of the day.
All right, Chief. You've been up 2 days and nights now, sir.
Yes?
Mr. Logan to see you, Chief.
All right, send him in. Now, don't worry about me, Peters. That quake was a terrible thing, but it looks like we have the situation well under control. Come in.
Chief Robinson?
Yes.
I'm Spencer Logan, investigator for the major insurance company.
Oh, sit down, Mr. Logan. This is Captain Peters.
Well, thank you. How do you do, Peters? Oh, glad to know you. Our company is making adjustments and paying policies just as rapidly as possible in the Harmonsville quake.
Good. That will speed relief work.
We realize that. However, in hurrying to pay all claims, it's necessary to increase our vigilance.
You mean against fraudulent claims?
Yes. Any major disaster such as this always has its share. My company wants to pay all legitimate claims as soon as it can, but it's my job to see that there are no frauds.
I see.
It's too large a job for one man, so I'm appealing to you for 1 or 2 men from your office to speed things up. Otherwise, claimants will be forced to wait their turn.
Well, just what do you want from my men?
Well, they will be asked to assist only in cases where our investigators can't handle the situation.
I see.
Take this case, for instance.
Pull up a chair, Peters.
Yes, sir. Now, here's a typical case. The case of Ward Williams. Williams and his brother owned a small shop on White Street right in the center of the earthquake district. The shop, not insured, is in ruins. However, Williams' brother, Hugh Williams, is heavily insured with our company.
You mean life insurance?
Yes. Late yesterday, rescuers pulled the body from under the ruins. This Ward Williams claims that it's the body of his brother. He identified it in one of the temporary morgues. He also produced a $50,000 policy and demanded immediate payment.
Well, that's not strange, is it?
No, that part of it isn't. However, I was present when Williams identified the body by the clothes and shoes. He appeared greatly grieved. But another merchant asked him if he was sure that the body was that of his brother. Williams was shaken and answered in a menacing tone, "Sure it is. And nobody better say it isn't."
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's been my experience that anyone who has the least possible reason to believe a relative alive will grasp at the hope of any suggestion to that effect.
Yes, that's right.
Not only that, but I took the other merchant aside and asked him why he suggested that the body might not be Hugh Williams. And he told me that as he, the merchant, ran from his store, he thought he saw Hugh Williams and his brother run into the street.
Well, were there any other employees in the shop at the time of the quake?
No, but we have only Williams' word for that.
Well, what do you propose to do?
Well, in this particular case, I propose to enlist your aid in finding Hugh Williams, whom I believe to be still alive.
You mean you believe him to be in a plot with his brother to collect the insurance?
Yes. In which case, finding him will prove very difficult, as he would naturally go into hiding until after the claim had been paid.
Well, if our cooperation will speed relief, I'll be glad to assign a few men to you.
Well, thank you.
And just as a starter, Chief, I'd like to take a crack at this Williams case. All right, Peters. If you've any ideas on it, I'm sure that Mr. Logan will be grateful for your assistance.
Indeed, I will.
All right. Just give me this Williams address, and I'll soon have a report for you. Yes, sir, I got some ideas of my own on this thing. Yes? Mr. Williams?
Oh, yes.
You're Mr. Ward Williams?
Yes?
I'm Captain Peters, Central Police Station. There's a little matter I'd like to talk to you about.
Certainly, Captain. Come in.
Oh, thanks.
Sit down here, Captain.
No, thanks. I can't stay long. Mr. Williams, one of our patrolmen picked up a man about 45 who'd been struck by a hit-and-run driver. When this man regained consciousness, we asked his name, and he claims he is Hugh Williams, but doesn't know where he lives.
Hugh?
The doctor says he's suffering from amnesia, loss of memory, and I thought he might be your brother.
My brother Hugh is dead. I saw him with my own eyes as they pulled his body from the wreckage of my store.
You're positive in your identification?
I am.
Well, I guess that's that. This fellow's name may be Hugh Williams, but he's probably not the person this adjuster thinks he is.
No. Adjuster?
Yeah, a fellow named Logan, investigator for the major insurance company. You see, his idea is that during the confusion of the quake, your brother ran from the building before it fell and was making his way to the city when he was struck by an automobile.
I'm sorry, Captain Peters, but my brother was buried yesterday. This other is a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah, that's what I figured, Mr. Williams. A fellow ought to know his own brother. But the insurance company isn't taking any chances during a time like this. The investigator is going to have a talk with this fellow tomorrow morning. The poor guy won't last long, and the adjuster figures he'll talk before he dies.
You say he's in the hospital?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh, I don't know. I saw the name in the paper, but I'm not sure. Why? Are you interested?
Huh? Oh, no.
Well, I'm sorry I bothered you, Mr. Williams.
That's all right.
Well, so long. I'm sorry about your brother.
Thanks.
Well, how'd he take it?
Just like I thought he would, Logan. He was startled when I sprung it on him, and he sort of calmed down, and just before I left, he tried to ask, unconcerned-like, where this man was. Oh, he's interested, all right.
You hit it, Peters. Making him think that his brother was struck by a hit-and-run driver is one way of finding out just how sure he is that the man found in the ruins was his brother.
Yeah, and I figure that if Ward Williams knows that his brother is alive, he'll try to see him and shut him up.
Right. You say he asked which hospital the man was in?
Yeah, and I told him I didn't remember, but I saw it in a newspaper. He'll watch every paper that comes out. Come on.
Where are you going now?
To give the next edition of The Sun a very interesting little article. Did you get the paper?
Yes. It's in the home edition. The one Williams will most likely read.
Oh, good. Let's see it.
It's on page 1, just as you gave it to them.
Oh. Man near death insists he is not dead.
There's a headline for you.
An unidentified man about 45 lies dying in Providence Hospital, insisting that his name is Hugh Williams. Police find that a Hugh Williams is alleged to have died in the recent Harmonsville earthquake and believe that the man is suffering from mental attacks as the result of being struck by a hit-and-run driver sometime last night. Well, that'll pull Williams out of anything, Will.
Yes. Providence Hospital, eh?
Oh, Chief's office, Captain Peters. Oh, hello, Burke. What's that? When? All right, beat it over to the hospital and get into bed as we'd planned. There you are. We've got him worried already. Burke, the man I left to watch Williams, says that he bought every edition of the afternoon papers and took them home. After about 30 minutes, he came out with a copy of The Sun in his pocket and started for the city in his car.
Good.
I told Burke to beat it to the hospital and get into bed as we'd planned. We'll arrange to meet our friend Mr. Williams at the hospital and ask him why all the interest if he's so sure his brother is dead. Everything all set, Burke?
Yeah.
Well, get into bed and pull the covers up around your neck.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Got the nurse instructed?
Yes. When Williams asks to see the man, she's to give him the room key and let him come up alone.
Good work. Hey, you better pull down that shade and turn off the light. We'll hide behind this screen. Williams should be here any minute.
Right.
Good. Now, there's just enough light in the room to see the bed. You all set, Burke?
Yeah, this is a cinch.
All right. Get over here with me, Logan. I figure we won't have to long to wait.
Say, I'm getting...
Somebody's at the door. He's trying the knob. All right, put him up. Get the lights on, Logan.
Right.
Say what the... No, you don't. Get his hand, Logan. His right hand. There's something in it.
Give me that. Well, I'll be...
What is it?
Cyanide. He was all set to bump his brother off.
Why, you crazy fool. I never thought you'd go as far as murder.
Why not? The paper said he was going to die anyway. He'd ratted on me. He'd ruined my chances of getting that $50,000.
You and your brother had this all framed, didn't you? He was to disappear and you were to collect the insurance. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, who was the man whose body was found in the wreckage?
A tramp who'd come in looking for a handout just as the quake started.
And you tried to fool us with the wrong corpse, huh? Well, I guess we got it back on you. Hey, wake up, Burke.
Who, me? Why, that's not my brother. It's a trick.
Yeah. You were tricking us and we were tricking you. Take him down, Burke.
Ports of Call.
Beyond blue horizons, far at the world's end, strange, fascinating lands beckon us, bid us revel in their exotic splendors. Come with us as we head for Ports of Call. Separated from the continent of Europe by 27 miles of wind-tossed water, and from America by 3,000 miles of blue sea, the tiny island of England lies like a green carpet under the soft English sky. Sailing up the English Channel past the rocky point known as Land's End and the busy harbor of Plymouth, we anchor at the great docks of Southampton at the junction of two wide rivers. 4 hours by fast express and we arrive in London, the greatest city in the world. It was near London on a sultry June day in 1213 that England's greatness was forever guaranteed. On a broad meadow in Surrey, the feudal barons of England are gathered outside the silken pavilion of their hated King John. Distant thunder booms in thudding measures. Lightning licks about the clouds' sharp edges. The air is charged with tension as the barons draw closer, speak in low tones.
Think you the king will sign Oxford? I have heard it said he means to press for still more time to consider. He must be deaf and blind. There are not more than half a dozen barons still loyal to him, and even their knights are opposed to John.
It's true, but if he
Does
thinks
he think to impress us with this silken pavilion and trappings of state? Ah, he's not even a man, much less a king.
His Majesty, the King!
Ah, mark his insolence as he seats himself.
Well, my lords, your king will hear what you have to say in defense of this charter which you propose we shall sign.
If your majesty pleases, Baron Robert Fitzwalter has been chosen to represent the barons in this discussion.
Let him present himself.
There is little to discuss, your majesty. You have been sent a copy of the charter. It represents our demands.
There are certain clauses to which we object.
We are willing that certain clauses be subject to discussion, but certain others we will demand.
What others?
I will read the most important. No free man shall be imprisoned or exiled without judgment of his peers. All persons shall be free to come and go in times of peace, except outlaws and prisoners. No justice, constable, sheriff, or bailiff is to be appointed but such as knows the law and is willing to observe it. Justice is to be done in cases of wrongful dispossession, and all illegal fines are to be remitted.
Are these your demands?
If your majesty wishes to keep his throne, he would be wise to sign the charter.
But those are the very clauses I will not sign.
Does your majesty want war?
Lords, it is beginning to rain. Let us postpone this.
But
it is raining, and I have not had time.
Your majesty had best sign.
Oh, very well. Give me the pen.
And so was signed the Magna Carta, foundation of English law. Over the tiny, turbulent kingdom, years came and went. The House of Plantagenet was succeeded by the House of York, then Lancaster, and finally Tudor, whose impatient scion, Henry VIII, defied the Church of Rome. Bitterness and strife followed his death, but Elizabeth gained the throne, where for 45 years she played Catholic against Protestant, an enemy against enemy to the glory of England. 1599. In Elizabeth's magnificent court, her favorite for 5 years has been young Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex. Just after Easter, she receives him in her private apartments.
Well, Essex, is there some urgent matter of life and death that causes you to ride here in the rain this morning?
It's always death to me when I'm away from you. I kiss your majesty's lovely hand.
What a flatterer you are, Essex.
Madam,
Oh, you know I'm not displeased. Never was there a man like you.
Even Walter Raleigh?
Even Walter Raleigh. You are jealous of him.
I am jealous of every man on whom your majesty's eyes fall for so much as a moment. If I could have my heart's desire, it would be that I might take you in my arms, draw the curtains between us and the world forever.
Alas, that I am a queen.
I know. But yours is a glorious reign. You have made England mistress of the seas.
There are some who say Sir Francis Drake accomplished that.
Sir Francis was but the instrument of Spanish destruction in your majesty's hand. And without your favor, there could have been no ships bringing the treasure from the West Indies to England.
Again, you are thinking of Sir Walter Raleigh. What is it that I may do to prove how high I hold you in esteem?
Esteem is a cold word, your majesty.
Affection, then?
It is still but lukewarm. I'm not afraid to speak boldly. And though you may rebuke me, I adore you.
Essex, what do you want of me?
Let me sit here at your feet. I beg you to send me to Ireland to put down Tyrone's rebellions.
You, Essex?
Your surprise itself speaks ill of me. You think I'm but a dancing fool, fit for nothing but to dress myself in velvet and brocade, to idle my time away at the gaming tables and kiss ladies' hands in ballrooms.
Essex, you forget yourself.
My sword is but a shining ornament. Oh, Your Majesty, you refused to permit me to go to Spain with Sir Francis Drake. Let me serve you now in this. I would put down the rebel Tyrone in one swift stroke and add glory and even greater acclaim to Your Majesty's magnificent reign.
So, you see me as a timid woman, holding you back from your man's life.
Timid? Elizabeth, timid? No. And if your feeling for me leads you to fear for my safety, I am 1,000 times blessed. But Your Majesty knows the people are ill-pleased that the Irish rebels have not been put down.
And if I should send you, the people's idol, they would...
If I am the people's idol, it is only because they know my heart, my soul, my life are Your Majesty's and will be while I have breath to speak your name and power to lift my sword.
I cannot resist your eloquence. I will instruct Cecil to have your appointment drawn.
Your Majesty, I am your slave.
God keep you safely. I will give you a token to wear.
It shall be worn next my heart. I swear it.
Take this ring. And Essex, if ever I should misjudge you, remember this. You have only to send me this ring, and it will always bring forgiveness.
Your Majesty, my love.
Yes, Martin?
Sir Francis Bacon, Your Majesty.
Let him come in.
Your Majesty.
Come in, Bacon. I sent for you because you are a friend of Essex.
There's little I would not do for Essex, and nothing I would not do for Your Majesty.
Well spoken. I am told that London is filled with gossip, Bacon. Gossip that Essex has lost half his men, dead from disease, frittered away in unimportant skirmishes. But he has made no real attempt to crush Tyrone. Tell me, what is your opinion of the state of affairs in Ireland, and of the manner in which Essex is proceeding?
I am greatly honored that Your Majesty should consider my advice worthy of her attention.
What is your advice?
Essex and I have been the closest friends since boyhood. As Your Majesty knows, Essex has greatly favored me. My present position at court is due to his influence in my behalf. I know his nature as well as my own. And forgive me, Your Majesty, I've heard the present gossip that is being repeated in the court as well as in the streets.
You may speak freely.
Your Majesty, if you were to continue him here at court as an ornament to yourself and to society, he would be in his right element. He is beloved by the people and well liked by foreign ambassadors. I have Your Majesty's permission to continue?
Yes, speak on.
To put arms and power into his hands may be a temptation for him to prove unruly. Therefore, if you would send for him and satisfy him with honors here near you, if Your Majesty's affairs would permit it, I think it would be the best plan.
Arms, power, temptation. Your frankness is very welcome, Sir Francis. You will speak of this to no one.
Certainly not, Your Majesty.
You have our permission to retire.
Your Majesty.
Perhaps I shall send for you again, Bacon.
I am at Your Majesty's service. Good night.
Good night. Martin.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I am going to my chamber. Send my women to me there.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Oh, I am weary.
Your Majesty.
Why, Lucy. You here already?
I thought Your Majesty might retire early tonight.
So, you thought I seemed tired, ill?
Oh, no, Your Majesty never seems weary or ill. But since you had decided not to attend Sir Anthony's ball,
There, it's all right. You're a sweet child, Lucy. Take off my wig and rub my head. Talk to me, child.
Has Your Majesty heard of Will Shakespeare's new play at the Globe Theatre in praise of my Lord Essex?
What's this?
Oh, yes, Your Majesty. It is called Henry V, but everyone knows it's my Lord Essex who is meant by Will Shakespeare's words.
What words?
I know them well. Where now the general of our gracious empress, as in good time he may from Ireland coming, bring rebellion broken on his sword. How many would the peaceful city quit to welcome him?
Huh? It would seem Will Shakespeare also wishes my Lord Essex well.
But who does not? Except Sir Walter Raleigh.
Enough of this for tonight. Call the others to prepare my bed.
Your Majesty.
In the morning will be time enough to consider what must be done. Is my wig ready, Lucy?
Yes, Your Majesty, it is here.
Hand me my mirror before you put it on. My hair is grey.
Oh, Your Majesty.
Don't try to take the mirror. How ugly I am. My face unpainted, my hair hanging in wisps about it.
I beg Your Majesty will let me dress your hair.
What's that?
My lord.
Essex! Your Majesty, I have only this moment arrived from Ireland. I know my clothes are dirty and disordered from the long journey, my boots covered with mud, but I could not forbear one moment to see you.
Lucy, go! At once.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Now, Essex, tell me what there is to be said about your conduct in Ireland.
They say Elizabeth and Essex have quarreled.
Is it true he burst into her chamber and found her in a dressing gown, unpainted, and without even her wig?
I have heard it said.
And now Essex is a prisoner at York House.
But Essex, it is the height of injustice that you should be kept prisoner.
Oh, what does it matter, Merrick? One day I am in the Queen's favor, and the next I am cast out of the court in disgrace.
There is this to consider. James of Scotland would like to rule England also.
Merrick, you're not suggesting...
Why not? It would not be the first time in this country a sovereign had been deposed. If you would throw your great popularity into the scale for James, much might be accomplished.
I asked to depose Elizabeth.
Why should you be loyal to her? After all you've done for England, she's ordered you into custody without compunction. Let me take a letter to James, assuring him of your devotion.
Oh, very well. Elizabeth is determined to destroy me. England holds nothing else for me now.
Months go by. Francis Bacon warns Elizabeth the people will rise in anger if Essex is severely punished. At last, he is set free. But only a few weeks later...
Essex, the Queen has been told of your activities in behalf of James.
What?
I had it from one of the Queen's ladies-in-waiting. She is not yet convinced, but you are in danger. Leave London at once. Go to Wales. There you can raise the standard of revolt. Men will flock to join you.
Why should I run away? If the Queen wants my life... Who is there?
The Lord Keeper, the Earl of Worcester, and William Knollys, and the Lord Chief Justice.
You were under arrest in the Queen's name, Lord Essex. Take him to the Tower.
Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex, you have been found guilty of high treason against the person and the crown of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. You are sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered on Ludgate Hill on the morning of February 25th, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Has your Majesty had me brought here from the Tower to gloat over me?
No, to tell you of the change in your sentence.
Your Majesty?
Yes. You are not to be hanged on Ludgate Hill, but like other important prisoners of state, you will be beheaded in the courtyard of the Tower. Well, have you nothing to say to me?
What is left to say?
Why did you not send me the ring I gave you? I told you it would always bring forgiveness.
I was brought to trial that justice might be done, not to beg forgiveness like a lover whining at his mistress' feet.
Oh, you try my patience. But that I can understand. It is not too late. Give me the ring. Admit you wronged me.
No. If I call for mercy now, if I beg forgiveness and it is granted, it will only mean that in a week, a month, or a year, this miserable farce will be played out again. In the end, I shall die. So let it be soon.
Oh, why must it be thus?
Our love was destined to bring us nothing but misery and suffering. When I am gone, it will be over.
Essex, give me the ring.
No!
This is the last time I shall ask. Do you still wear it next your heart?
Yes?
Then give it to me. Say you were wrong.
I have not much time to prepare my soul for death. I beg your majesty will send me back to the tower.
Go, then. I shall never see your face again.
So closes one of the most colorful chapters in the story of England. 2 years later, still grieving over the death of Essex, Elizabeth died. With her died the Tudor dynasty, and the light-hearted Stuarts diced and drank and fitted away England's wealth on the painted beauties of the court. Rebellion swept the land. Grim Cromwell ruled for 9 brief years. With the death of the frivolous Charles II, the Stuart line ended. From Hanover in Germany were summoned to England's throne George I, George II, and George III, who lost the American colonies in 1776. In 1805, the gallant Lord Nelson pits England's navy against the combined navies of France and Spain at the Battle of Trafalgar, and Lord Nelson dies to win it. Napoleon scourges Europe for 20 years. In 1814, Lord Wellington defeats him at Waterloo. Peace brings a new renaissance to England's life. A new generation of poets is born. Shelley, Keats, and the tragic Lord Byron. June 20th, 1837. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. In her bedroom in a quiet London house, a young girl is asleep.
Who's there?
The Archbishop, my child. And the Lord Chamberlain. Please open the door.
But, gentlemen, I'm not dressed. I can't see anyone now.
We have most important news for you. Please permit us to come in.
Can't it wait till I have risen and dressed?
No, child.
Oh, very well. Just a moment. My dressing gown. Oh, here it is. Now I must put on my stockings and slippers. Oh, and my hair is so untidy.
Are you really ready to let us in, Victoria?
Just a moment, gentlemen. There. Now you may come in. Uncle Leopold and my governess will be very angry with me for receiving you in my dressing gown at this hour. What news can you have that is of such great importance?
The news that your uncle, William IV, died at 3 o'clock this morning. You are Queen of England.
Your Majesty.
Queen of England? I?
You have long known you would one day rule.
Oh, yes, I was told I would be queen. But that's quite different from having the Lord Chamberlain of England kneeling at my feet. What will my governess say?
You no longer have a governess, Your Majesty. From this moment, you will command not only your own actions, but your loyal subjects, both in England and beyond the seas.
God grant I may rule my people wisely.
Two years later, a German prince, Albert of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, arrives in England determined to win the hand of the lovely young Queen Victoria. On a beautiful English autumn day, Victoria and Albert are strolling in the palace garden.
Your Majesty is very thoughtful today.
I'm thinking of something I said to Lord Melbourne, the Prime Minister, before you came to England.
Something about me?
Yes, Albert.
To judge from your melancholy face, it must have been something most unpleasant.
It was. Now I regret it.
Then if you regret it, dare I hope you have changed your mind?
Oh, I didn't mean to say... That is, Yes, I will say it. I have changed my mind. I like you very much indeed.
Victoria.
I like you so much, in fact, that I've decided to
To marry me?
Perhaps if you'd made the proposal to me instead of the Prime Minister and my Uncle Leopold, I might have consented before.
It was only because I feared to displease you by declaring my affection. Dare I hope you may learn to love me?
My governess always told me it was not seemly for a young girl to talk of love. But I'm sure that it is not wrong for me to tell you that you may hope.
Victoria.
With Victoria's marriage to Albert began the prosperous years of her reign. By 4 years, the longest in English history. Brilliant successes came to her armies. and on the sea her navy became supreme. The 19th century sees England's colonies expand beyond her wildest dreams. Victoria becomes Empress of India. But Albert's death has changed her into a bitter, grieving woman, living in her memories in the golden past. Her life spins out. 50, 60, 70 years. Late one June day in the year 1894, she stands in St. George's Chapel at Windsor.
Edward, Albert, Christian, George, Andrew, Patrick, David, I baptize thee in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
My first great-grandson, the future King of England, little Davy.
The longest of England's royal lives came to a close in 1901. Edward VII, already middle-aged, ruled only 9 years. George V ascends the throne amid the first mutterings of the storm that 4 years later sweeps all the nations of the earth into red disaster. (1914). England's first 100,000 pour out their lives on Belgian soil.
But amid the agony of no man's land, the sons of England lift their voices in exultant defiance of death.
There is but one task for all, for each one life to give. Who stands if freedom fall? Who dies if England live?
1915. Ypres, Liège, Armentières.
I have a rendezvous with death at midnight in some flaming town, when spring trips north again this year, and I to my pledged word am true. I shall not fail that rendezvous.
1916. The Somme, Verdun.
If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England.
1917. Vimy Ridge, Passchendaele.
Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If he break faith with us who died, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
1918. Arras, Messines Ridge, Amiens. Peace. Home to England from France, from Mesopotamia, from Turkey, go the soldiers and sailors of England. A handful of the gallant men who held their lives so cheap at England's need. Back from France goes Edward, Prince of Wales, to take up the task of preparing himself to rule. In January 1936, the summons comes. George V is buried at Windsor. 3 months later, Edward VIII sits before a radio microphone in St. James's Palace, whose courtyard once echoed to the dancing hoofs of the horses of medieval kings.
It now falls upon me to succeed my father and to carry on his work. I'm better known to most of you as the Prince of Wales, as a man who during the war and since has had the opportunity of getting to know the people of nearly every country of the world under all conditions and circumstances. And although I now speak to you as the king, I am still that same man who had that experience and whose constant effort it will be to continue to promote the well-being of his fellow men. May the future bring peace and understanding throughout the world, prosperity and happiness to business people, and may we be worthy of the heritage which is ours.
And now our steamer awaits us in the bustling harbor of Liverpool, where high over St. George's Hall shines a bronze replica of one of the extinct birds known as livers that gave the city its name. This modern industrial city, with its great schools of medicine, engineering, and law, contrasts strangely with the green fields and thatched cottages of the countryside to which we have just come. But the soft wind blows from the hedges and mingles with the salt of the sea to say that all this is the gallant heart of England. We're homeward bound once more from another journey to ports of call. invite you to join us again next week at this time as we journey to another of the world's fascinating ports of call.